The Lanas Empire stands out from other maritime powers due to its thriving distinctive culture, the offspring of the ruling house that laid the foundation of the future state, thanks to their outstanding magical abilities. For a long time reigning in the Empire of Lanas. At this time, someone asks His Majesty whether he has received the report of the fire in the east. The man replies that he received it, and he also heard that his interlocutor had been there. The guy does not reply that fortunately it turned out that the fire was not serious, so it was dealt with quickly, after which the man says that thank God, and he is glad that everything worked out. The guy claims that he also contributed, so that the forest was partially restored. However, it would be much more effective if His Majesty went there personally and made it rain. Fortunately, Lanas is a place where the Emperor uses his great power solely for the benefit of the people. People can communicate through pipes while in different rooms. At this time, one of the maids receives an order, and he screams for the maids to prepare more roast duck for the imperial palace, because the kitchen can't cope, so let them get moving. One of the girls burns herself and almost drops the pot of soup. At the same moment, someone grabs the soup and asks if the maid is okay, answers something yes, and thanks the lady. Another maid runs with dishes and also screams for the others to move aside, after which the dishes fly out of her hands. The head maid screams what the new girl is doing, and she understands that even a year's salary wouldn't be enough to pay for these plates. Well, the main character at this time grabs the dishes and realizes that here she is. A week has already passed since she started working there as a maid. A little while later, the girls are already in the bedroom and say that they are finally free. One of them claims that it is amazing because as she thought the kitchen in the palace is simply incredible. Another girl claims that her whole body hurts. She only has to look at her poor legs, so they should be given a day off already. The main character thinks that she has been doing nothing but physical labor all her life, and she has enough strength. At this time, another maid asks if the others have already managed to look at the crown prince, because he seems to be shining, but another one answers that she has only seen him from behind. The main character thinks that she will never be able to get used to this atmosphere, after which another maid turns to her and thanks her. If it weren't for her, the girl would have lost her salary for a month in advance. Another maid answers that it is true, and she was so scared because of these plates. Another one asks where the lady used to work, because she already thought that in the circus. The main character replies that she did not work in the circus, and that she really did move there from a fairly respectable place. It was practically the same as in the palace. One of the maids asks if it's true, and if the place was as big as the imperial palace. Another maid asks if she's a local, and if you think about it, she even has a slight accent. The main character wonders who pulled her tongue at all, after which she doesn't even know what to answer. But suddenly all the girls hear someone crying, and then turn around and see another lady there. The maid immediately asks Sarah what happened, and in response asks what she did wrong. The lady with red hair asks what is the matter, and whether something has happened. And the maid with blonde hair answers that Sarah was cleaning the Empress's palace and was severely scolded by the head maid. And besides, she said that it was lucky that Her Majesty did not find out about it, otherwise Sarah would lose her head. At this time, one of the ladies says that the rumors are true after all. The main character asks what rumors they are talking about, after which one of the leaders replies that they are talking about Her Majesty. After all, they say that she is even picky, and the lady is wondering if she hasn't heard Paris. And the lady with the red hair claims that she just yesterday, involuntarily, overheard the maid's conversation in the kitchen. Another maid claims that the tavern recently even fired the gardener, because Her Majesty allegedly did not like the smell of the flowers growing in the garden. Another lady claims that she heard that the imperial librarian was fired because Her Majesty cut herself on a book page. Another maid raises her hand and says, "By the way, this librarian, from what she knows, the poor guys had all their fingers cut off, and if this is all true, then it's terrible." The red-haired man says that it can't be. And the other maid says that, after all she's heard, it might be true. It seems to her that she is raising it because she heard somewhere that that gardener's nose was cut off, and probably this was punishment for the fact that he planted those very flowers. She also heard that Her Majesty collects severed body parts of her servants, and there are rumors that if she takes a liking to the hair of her maids, she tears it out by the roots and dumps it all on the poles. and she keeps the heads of these poor fellows in the storeroom. And those who became personal servants of Her Majesty, didn't they disappear without a trace after a month or two? So one of the ladies wonders if Her Majesty's hair is not real. The main character thinks how awful it is, and she doesn't have the strength to listen to these ridiculous rumors anymore. So Parisa says that she will probably go. One of the maids asks if she's really going to go, and Parisa doesn't seem scared at all. The main character thinks that the human race is greedy for all kinds of gossip, and she thinks that she will be called strange there too. The Empress of the bride can be so cruel. The next day, the girls who will go to the Emperor's palace are chosen. The red-haired lady gets into it and says how happy she is. Well, then it's Sarah's turn, and someone claims that she's going to the Empress's palace. The girl then goes into shock and starts hiccuping from fear, but the man tells them to be quiet. After all, now that the distribution is over, a selection will be made of the maid who will become Her Majesty's personal maid. For this moment, he had been watching them all closely for the past week. Therefore, this maid will be Lady Parisa Menzel. The girl is surprised after this, and the man claims that starting tomorrow, she will work as Her Majesty's personal maid. The main character wonders why they chose her. A little while later, the lady with purple hair screams that she can't and won't do it for any amount of money. The girl also wonders how she managed to attract the attention of such a high-ranking person. After which, she heads to the door and wonders how they will order to work for such an empress. This was published to her, so she leaves right now. The girl slams the door, and the maids look at the main character. After which, one of them asks what Parisa should do, because she is probably just in shock. Another lady asks if the young lady is okay, and the girl remembers. As the man told her to just try to hold out for 3 months, the young lady asked what he was talking about, and she liked this job. But the man claimed that he was sure the girl knew perfectly well what kind of flattering rumors were circulating among the low-class servants. However, he still insists that the girl soberly assess the opportunities that will open up to her, because for her, this is a unique chance. The girl replied that she would not answer. She did not like to attract unnecessary attention, and besides, she was quite happy with the status of a low-class servant. The man then asked if she even imagined how many people wanted the position of personal servant, to which she replies that not really, and the man claims that if only Her Majesty becomes her patron, her entire family will instantly be under protection, but the girl replies that she left home, after which the man claims that she will be paid several times more than in her current position. And when he sees the reaction of the young lady, he thinks that this is what he claims apparently. The girl doesn't know what the salary of a personal servant is, and the lady just shrugs, after which the man gets up from his seat. And he shows the lady the contract as well as the place where it says how much she will be paid. He also claims that if the lady starts working tomorrow, she will be able to earn much more. Parisa is shocked by this and thinks how many years he must work to earn so much money. That's why now the main character thinks that she's stupid and tried to avoid getting involved with her boss, after which she smiles, thinking about the money she will receive. At this time, one of the maids is worried about Parisa and wonders what she should do. But the main character at this time thinks that there must be a reason why they pay so much money, and maybe the Empress really has a bad temper. Well, then the young lady thinks that, no, and she is able to hold out for some miserable 3 months. A little while later, the lady is already heading towards the Empress, and the maids around are told that this time a new one has come. One of them also wonders where the one who came last time is, and is he really done already? Well, then another lady asks if her friend hasn't heard, and what a poor girl this is, because the butler brings new people every day. The main character at this time begins to worry and thinks whether everything will be okay with her. But in comparison with what she has been doing so far, the position of a personal maid is not so bad. At this time, the butler thinks about Paris and understands that he is sure that this girl will suit Her Majesty better than any nobleman. So he asks for luck this time. Then the man turns to Her Majesty, and he claims that new servants have arrived. The main character introduces herself there and greets His Majesty, after which the lady with pink hair asks if the girl is really a personal servant. Her Majesty also laughs and tells the girl to raise her head. When the main character does so, then he sees a beautiful lady, and she claims that she will have to follow all her orders without question. At the very moment their gazes crossed, the world seemed to freeze for a moment. Their main character thinks that she is imagining things. Until now, she had lived only for this day, So the girl immediately gets down on one knee and says that she would do everything in her power for Her Majesty Paresa, realizes that she had almost said that she would give her life without a second thought. Well, then the lady feels the eyes on her and wonders if she has overdone it. The lady with pink hair wonders if the other servants taught the girl this, and they ordered to fall on their knees as soon as she saw her. At this time, the butler tells Parisa to get up. After all, it is not worth going so far, and the main character asks to forgive her. The girl understands that she did this not for a second, without thinking out of habit. The woman at this time says that the lady has a good attitude and she has a desperate desire to succeed. So this is even commendable. Her Majesty is interested in how the girl thinks she is going to use her, to which she replies that she will do anything, and the main character thinks what is happening, and also why she seems to be obsessed with something. The lady with pink hair at this time tells the lady to then jump out of the window. The main character asks what Her Majesty is talking about, and she asks if she just said that she was ready for anything. If that's the case, then let him jump. Parisa wonders if this woman is really serious. And Her Majesty is wondering if the lady can't their main character understand that she is probably serious. The girl also understands that from such a height, one can get seriously injured. And Her Majesty claims that she spoke so sweetly, but as she thought everyone there was throwing around empty words. And now the girl is probably barely holding back her tears, and also probably wants to get out of there as soon as possible. But the main character gradually moves towards the window, after which everything jumps on him, and flies out into the street, which shocks Her Majesty and the butler. The man asks the lady with pink hair what he should do now. But Her Majesty only cries out, "How could he have chosen such a candidate?" After all that was required of this girl was to kneel and beg for mercy. A personal servant must read her master's thoughts, so she doesn't want to see this, and let him immediately take the girl to the doctor. The butler at this time turns to one of the maids and says that she heard everything, so let her do it perfectly, which she agrees to. And the man understands that he thinks it would be rude of him to look for a new maid now. Well, then one of the maids screams and Her Majesty asks what happened there, after which she sees the main character in the window. The man asks if she was lucky enough to cling to the tree, and that this is unimaginable luck. After all, the girl jumped from such a height and managed to land on the ground with ease. She has proven herself quite well in this regard. The main character at this time shakes her dress and then greets Her Majesty again, and also claims that her name is Paresa Menzel. After this, the room is silent and everyone looks at Her Majesty. But the woman only laughs after this and claims that Parese is simply amazing. So be that as it may, she would allow her to serve, and they would see how long the girl could remain so desperate. The main character wonders if she really succeeded, and a little while later, one of the maids tells Parisa that all the preparations are complete, so she asks to go that way. Parisa thinks that for the first time, another person is helping her with her clothes, and remembers Her Majesty's words that she should immediately get rid of these rags, because how can her personal maid walk around in torn rags? But the girl also understands that she spent all her money on buying clothes. When a lady comes to the door, well, that's not how the butler addresses her. And she claims that Lady Paresa certainly tried her best, but she should have warned him in advance because he almost went crazy. He also doesn't remember a single time when the first meeting went so smoothly, so he asks the girl to continue in the same spirit. Parisa understands that, by the way, at the very first meeting, Her Majesty ordered her to jump out of the window, so should she worry about her future, because it must get even worse over time. A little while later, the lady with pink hair states that a personal servant must be perceptive to serve her, and luckily, tomorrow, she will have to leave the palace, so the lady's job is to choose a suitable outfit for her. The main character thinks that, fortunately, her first task is not very difficult, because she only needs to choose a dress. But a little while later, the woman screams for her to give the next dress, and she has no taste at all. So why does she need eyes at all if a lady can't even pick out a dress? The main character thinks, what kind of attempt is this? And what can she do if they all look like two peas in a pod? At this time, one of the maids tries to help and talks about a blue dress. The main character then takes one of them and thinks that it is worth trying. However, when she shows it to Her Majesty, she says so that the girl hands over the next dress. The main character realizes that she needs another blue dress, after which she finds another one. But the lady with pink hair tells the girl to hold out the next one. A little while later, Her Majesty even screams that the butler has already managed to grow old while they were messing around there. And she can't believe that they gave her a maid who can't even choose one dress. The woman also asks if this is normal at all, and the main character replies that Her Majesty is dazzling in everything she wears, after which the woman tells the girl to keep quiet and that things won't go that way. Then she also turns to another maid and tells her to bring her a knife. Tatogo gets scared and asks if she should bring her a knife, after which the woman keeps screaming at him to bring something spicy, and it could be anything. The main character wonders what kind of atmosphere is hanging there, and is it all because she couldn't choose a dress that she liked? According to rumors, she took a liking to the maid's hair and makes wigs out of it, and he keeps the heads of the unfortunate maids in the pantry. Parisa understands that she has a headache, so maybe she should run away before everything gets even worse. At this point, another maid claims that she brought a knife, and the woman tells her to cut. The maid then asks if the lady really wants to say that there are too many decorations, but if she cuts off the excess, the dress will be ruined, after which she replies that no, and screams that these outfits are simply awful, so let the girl cut them into pieces. Well, the maid wonders how she can do such a thing to her son next to Her Majesty, after which the woman snatches the knife from her hands. And he screams that it's very simple, after which he starts cutting up these dresses. She throws the pieces in different directions until all the dresses, except one, are completely torn. The lady with pink hair then turns to Paresa and says that she is giving her one last chance. She also puts a dress that she liked on herself and says, let the girl pick out the right shoes for this dress, and she hopes that she will at least cope with this. The main character then thinks how beautiful this woman is, and Her Majesty tells the girl not to make a mistake with her choice, otherwise she will lose an eye. The young lady understands that at that moment she could think of only one thing, after which she asks Her Majesty why she doesn't choose her own shoes then. The woman asks what she said, and the main character replies that even if she chooses the results, will simply be a waste of Her Majesty's precious time. The girl also understands that if as a result of her inept choice, the beauty of the Empress fades, then this is not the outcome that she as a sincere servant devoted to the master could wish for. The woman at this time asks if this means that she is resisting her order, and the main character asks for forgiveness, but claims that she cannot do it, after which the woman screams, did she really want to plunge into eternal sleep? In the end, Her Majesty screams to another maid to bring there the new shoes that were delivered yesterday. And the main character understands that her choice is to always be on the side of Her Majesty, after which the woman says that tomorrow the girl is free, because she looks so stupid that she does not realize her place. A little while later, another maid puts the lady's shoes on and asks how she likes them. The woman notes that they are very good, and she knew they were the best option. However, the main character turns to Her Majesty and claims that she will not be able to walk in these shoes. The woman only gets angry and asks what she's talking about, and the main character replies that the center of gravity in these shoes is greatly shifted, so it's easy to lose your balance and fall in them. Therefore, it is better to choose another pair. But the woman then asks if she is serious about wanting to fall into eternal sleep. The lady with pink hair also cries out that whatever the young lady wishes, she will personally fulfill it. But when Her Majesty comes closer, she suddenly trips on her shoes and begins to fall. Another maid immediately screams to Her Majesty, but the woman has already fallen to the floor. The main character immediately grabs it and thinks, has her chance finally come? After which she also says that she warned Her Majesty that the shoes were extremely unstable. The lady with pink hair only gets angry about this, after which she screams for the butler to remove this girl from there right now. A little while later, the main character returns to her room and thinks what a hard day it was today. When she enters the room, the other maids greet her and ask if everything is okay with the lady. One of them also says that the girl, for God's sake, say that it wasn't her who jumped out of the window today, because they were told that someone saw her lifeless body stuck in a tree. And just thinking about how she broke her arms and legs, they were all terribly upset. The main character wonders if the rumors really spread so quickly, after which she tells them to calm down, because she is completely fine, and all of this is just crazy rumors. Then another lady asks if it turns out that Her Majesty brandished a knife is also slander. Paresa replies that it is true, which surprises the girls, and one of the maids claims that they say that if you screw up, this woman will gouge out your eyes. After which, one of the ladies asks what Parisi should do. Now it's terrible, and asks if nothing terrible happened to her. The main character thinks that it seems nothing, but they are right. After all, at that moment, when the Empress pointed the knife at her, she did not see in her eyes any intention to harm her. And it was something else, because she felt as if the girl was like an evil cat. One of the maids at this time asks if everything is okay with Parisa, and the other one claims that she is not with them, so she seems too shocked. A little while later, someone says that, in general, they don't have to worry about anything so much anymore, since she's leaving from there. Parisa realizes that, although she has effectively been fired, one of the maids says it's a good idea, and another says it's her safety that comes first. But then someone else knocks on the door, and the maid asks who has come at such an hour. One of the ladies opens the door and asks who is there, after which the butler enters the room. He also turns to Parisa and asks her to immediately pack her things. The main character asks what he is talking about, after which he claims that the lady is moving and will have to follow her to the Empress's palace. This is Her Majesty's order, and in the future, she will become her closest assistant. The next day, the maid whispers, "That isn't this yesterday's maid," and she thought that she had already been kicked out. Another one of them claims that she thought so too, and the main character understands that it is strange. After all, just yesterday, Her Majesty was screaming for the butler to immediately remove her from there, so the main character wonders what is going on in the Empress's head. At this time, the lady with pink hair turns to Parisa and asks what she is doing there. The main character then bows to Her Majesty and asks how she slept last night. The girl after this just keeps silent about the main character, thinking what is wrong. The Empress understands that this lady is holding up well after everything that happened yesterday, after which he claims that she will tell her about her duties, because from now on, the girl will manage the tea room. Every day, after her morning meal, she brings a cup of tea, and she has to manage with that. Parisa replies that she will do her best, and wonders if the Empress will not mention yesterday, but she does not even seem to be in a bad mood. After which, the woman tells the girl to bring her some tea right away, and she agrees. The main character makes tea with a smile on her face, and understands that in comparison with the selection of outfits, this is a piece of cake, and today she will work off yesterday's mistake. The young lady looks at this tea and understands that this is it. After all, this is a perfect tea that suits Her Majesty perfectly. Well, then one of the maids turns to Parisa, and she talks about tea, after which the main character asks if she wants to say that this tea is great. However, the lady claims that she thinks Parisi will get into trouble as soon as this tea is released. The main character is shocked and asks why, since it has such a beautiful color, and it will suit Her Majesty perfectly. But the maid claims that this task is incredibly difficult. It is necessary to take into account what kind of floral scent Her Majesty prefers lately. What is her mood today, and what color does she like most right now? In general, it is very important to take into account all possible factors and prepare thoroughly. The main character then says that it turns out that even a cup of tea is far from easy to cope with. Then she also says that maybe it makes sense to choose tea leaves that have a beneficial effect on the state of the body and mind, because it must have been difficult for her, after everything that happened yesterday, after all the Empress screamed so loudly and tore her dresses. A little while later, the woman is already sitting with a cup of tea and then tries it. The main character then asks if the Empress liked the tea, and she with a smile on her face replies that she likes this tea because it gives her soul peace. The young lady is shocked by this, and so are the other servants, and the woman claims that even if the lady is not very good at reading the atmosphere, but it seems there are still things she is good at. After which the Empress approaches Parisa and says that in the future she is going to entrust her with many other duties, after which he asks if the girl is ready to follow her everywhere. The main character answers Her Majesty that of course, and she will follow her with great pleasure. The woman claims that Parisa sounds promising, and then they can move on to the next step. Parisa replies that yes, she will do everything that the mistress orders. A little while later, the girl walks through the garden and understands that, as expected, the rumors were greatly exaggerated. Or maybe she has an innate talent for this work, because she can't believe that such a picky empress liked her choice. The girl also thinks that this is true, and Her Majesty could not fail to understand this. The servant's legend is simply not to be found. A little while later, the butler turns to Her Majesty, and with all due respect asks what she was thinking about. After all, no matter who you ask, anyone would say that the lady is not behaving as usual and has suddenly decided to bring a new servant to the palace. The woman replies that she simply changed her mind and that the girl told her about the shoes because she cares. This self-confident girl made a remark to her, knowing at the same time that it could cost her life. Therefore, she cannot just let such a servant go. The main character at this time approaches the stable and also claims that she came on the orders of Her Majesty. One of the men asks if this is really true, after which the young lady replies that yes, she came to prepare the horses for riding tomorrow. The man then says that everything was conveyed to him correctly and also offers the lady to go in Parisa is interested in what the horses for riding of Her Majesty the Empress look like. But when she goes inside, she is a little surprised. The Empress at this time claims that it would be a serious omission to say goodbye to this girl so suddenly. The main character looks at a large number of horses, and the man next to her claims that all these horses belong to Her Majesty, and also wonders which horse the girl needs. The young lady remembers how Her Majesty claimed that she would like to ask her for something special, and let her mean that she should listen to her very carefully, because she only wants the girl to take good care of her beloved horses, and only to her can she entrust such an important matter, after which the woman asked whether Parisa could handle it, because not a single horse should be left without attention. The man at this time tells the lady that Her Majesty has not been there for several years, and the main character is shocked. A little while later, she is already cleaning horses. She also remembers asking this man about Her Majesty's favorite horse, but he replied that it seemed she was not interested in them at all. So much time had passed since his last meeting with the Empress. But in any case, he asked why the girl had suddenly come to look after the horses. The main character looks at the happy horse and says that it's great that at least someone there is happy. One of the men wonders if the lady has ever dealt with a similar case before, because the horses really like her. By the way, they have already dealt with 10, so they need to push harder because there is just a little bit left. Parisa thinks that this woman hasn't even ridden these horses, so why does she need so many? The girl also thinks that no matter how much she resists, she won't just give up on this business because she needs the salary of a personal servant. A little while later, the girl releases the horse and looks for another one, after which she sees it. And he says that this horse is so beautiful, she has a wonderful muscle balance and also a shiny silky mane. Therefore, this is quite enough to become Her Majesty's favorite horse. The main character already imagines this and thinks that this is dangerous for the heart. Hey, maybe she should give a couple of horse riding lessons. But it's hard for her to even imagine this, because it's unlikely that this woman would do this even despite her. The girl also thinks that she has gone mad. At this time, a man approaches the young lady and says that it is better not to touch this horse. The main character asks why her interlocutor replies that he completely forgot to say it. The girl then wonders if this is Her Majesty's horse, but the groom tells her to simply leave the horse alone. After all, she has a very difficult character, and if you offend this horse, or even slightly injure her, she can flare up in earnest. If you make a mistake, it can hurt. But at the same moment, the horse knocks over a bucket of water and then jumps on the main character. Her Majesty is sitting in her room at this time and drawing. When she finishes a drawing, she paints it red. He also tells the woman that today is especially boring and asks if she has anything planned for the afternoon. The servant answers Her Majesty that no, after which the woman changes her clothes, but thinks how boring everything is. And if you think about it right now, she remembers her personal maid, and also as you asked her if the girl was ready to follow her everywhere, to which you answered, of course. And now the woman just smiles, after which everyone turns to the butler and tells him to prepare the carriage right now. At this point, the groom sighs and says that no matter how much he thinks about it, it's surprising. A little while ago, he asked how the lady managed to do it, since she didn't even have a scratch on her. The girl replied that the horse was fine, and the only problem was its fiery nature. But this horse reminded her of someone. After that, he told the men that it was unbelievable, and that this was not the first time she had seen something like this. Parisa replies that she thinks she just needs to relax a little, to calm down completely, so they go for a walk. The man then agrees, and does not understand that even for him, who has worked there for many years, this horse is not easy to handle. And he wonders if the requirements for selecting servants have changed in recent years. Well, then the man looks at the road and realizes that Her Majesty has arrived. The Empress claims that she sees that they have a hard time working in the stables, to which the man replies that this is all the result of today's small incident. And he screams that usually everything is clean there, and also the lady will not have to see the stable in such a state anymore, because he will fix everything. Well then, the woman says that's enough, and also asks if Parisa is coping with the job. The man wonders if the lady has simply changed the subject, after which he says that of course, because it is all because she is under the noble command of Her Majesty, and this girl is very capable, because all the horses immediately fell in love with her. The woman asks if this girl is really capable of this, to which the servant replies that yes, thanks to Paris, the work that they had been unable to figure out for a long time was completed, and even the most difficult one, which was the most difficult to get along with. But the lady with pink hair tells him to keep quiet. She doesn't care if the groom really wants to say that this girl is so good. And it's up to her to decide, so she'll deal with it personally. The lady with pink hair asks where Parisa is now. Then Her Majesty goes in the carriage and asks the butler what he thinks. And doesn't it seem to him that some people have the audacity to treat her orders with disdain? The man says he doubts it, but the Empress immediately screams for him to look there. But the butler sits without binoculars and tells Her Majesty that he cannot see. After which the woman says that this girl is fooling around with a horse instead of doing her duties. And what's more, how dare she tame her horse and even choose the most beautiful one? The Empress also says that the lady used her order as a pretext to fulfill her personal whim. But at first, she was curious why this girl was behaving so boldly and without thinking about the consequences. Well, she knew right away that the girl was trying to grab something for herself while being subordinate to hers. At this time, one of the horses smells a pleasant smell. At this time, the Empress once again turns to the butler and also tells him to watch Parisa carefully, because she is such a cheeky girl. She probably never thought that she would be caught red-handed. And now they will see what else she is doing. The butler is only thinking why this worries Her Majesty so much. At this time, the woman is shocked because she sees how the girl sits on this horse. After which she screams out why she is doing this, and Parisa behaves as if this horse belongs to her. The woman insists that this will not work, and that she should return the horse immediately because it belongs to her. Well then, she is a little surprised, because she sees another horse in front of her, and one that almost licks her. After which, the woman immediately slams the door on the horse's forehead and screams why even horses want to piss her off. The butler replies that she most likely liked the smell of the lady's hair. But the woman only screams that it was all because of Paris. At this time, the horse kicks the carriage wheel, and it goes off the road. The main character is heading back with the pink horse. She thinks that everything is great, because now the horse even lets her ride more willingly. And in a little while, Her Majesty will also be able to ride this horse. But at that very moment, the girl hears some strange sounds, and when she turns around, she sees horses pulling a cabin. The main character also sees Her Majesty in the carriage, and wonders what it is. After which, the carriage passes by, and the Empress screams for the maid to save her. And quickly, the woman also turns to the coachman and cries out why he can't stop the carriage. The man replies that it is impossible, because she was pushed too hard. At that moment, Her Majesty hears someone addressing her, and also tells her not to worry. Parisa also claims that she will help Her Majesty. The main character extends her hand and tells the lady to grab it and jump. The lady with pink hair asks what she's talking about, and that it's crazy. Well, the main character assures her that everything will be fine and let Her Majesty trust her. The butler at this time turns to Her Majesty and asks her not to say that she is really going to jump. And this is very dangerous. But at that very moment, the woman grabs the maid's hand, after which he jumps out of the carriage. The main character grabs the girl and sits her next to her on the horse, after which he asks the Empress if she is safe. The woman then gets indignant and thinks why this girl is so cool, and the butler still heads to the moving carriage. A little while later, the main character asks if it turns out that she no longer has to work in the stables. The Empress replies that yes, she has already been told that the girl has done a good job. She also claims that her clothes are all dirty and she will not come within a meter of the horses again. But then the woman sees someone else, after which she keeps asking him what he is doing there. The guy answers Her Highness that the Crown Prince has come to visit her, but she wonders what he forgot there and why he always comes without warning. The main character understands that if you think about it, he was often gossiped about in the dorm, and the girls constantly discussed him, so she wonders what kind of person he is. But when the young lady finally sees the prince, then she thinks where this bright light comes from, after which she looks at the prince's face. At this time, the guy turns to his mother and asks how she has been living all this time. Paresa is wondering why the prince is so handsome. The guy apologizes for showing up without an invitation, and the maids who are watching from afar can barely stand on their feet. The Empress claims that if the guy is really ashamed, he could have not come. A little while later, they are already sitting in the room, and the main character looking at the prince understands that she doesn't believe that he's real. And the crown prince looks very much like the Empress, so the girl wonders if this glow is hereditary. The Empress is in her wardrobe at this time, and the main character thinks that Her Majesty was not very happy to see the prince, and maybe they are in a quarrel. After all, the crown prince is not the natural son of the Empress, and being the Hay of the Empress, he died 16 years ago. He is the half-brother of the young twins born to the current Empress. The girl also wonders if they don't get along, because the prince has the title of heir. However, in this situation, His Highness is too kind to the Empress, since he quite legally received power, which is passed down through the imperial family by inheritance. At this time, the prince turns to the maid and tells her to make him some more tea. The main character then apologizes and says that she was distracted by accident, but will do everything right now, after which she also thinks about how long she was staring at him. The girl also understands that she continues to lose her mind. She also wonders why the Empress has not returned for so long. At this time, His Highness enters the room and asks if the girl is helping his mother, and also if it is worth it. After all, she has a very difficult character, and he had the opportunity to observe how the girl works under her command, so he somehow does not really believe that she is a simple servant. The main character replies that she is afraid he is mistaken because she is the most ordinary servant. The young lady also asks him if he liked the tea, to which he replies that it was rather mediocre. He also understands that the girl's hands are not pretty or delicate, and these are not the hands of a maid accustomed to housework. After all, these are the hands of a person trained to hold a sword, after which the guy asks what the girl's name is, to which she replies that her name is Parisa, and the guy with a smile on his face replies that it's interesting because someone like her is her mother's personal servant. The main character is surprised by this and wonders if this guy really knows something about her, after which she asks His Highness what he is doing. But at that very moment, the door to the room opens, and the Empress comes in there, after which she looks at the main character and also asks the prince, what is he doing with her maid? The guy replies that they have been waiting for Her Majesty for a long time, and the women wonder why he hasn't returned to his place. After which, she sits down at the table and asks what kind of business it was that the Somali guy personally dragged himself there for. The prince replies that his father had made him an offer the day before, after which he wonders if Her Majesty would be so kind as to accompany him to a couple of upcoming balls as a companion. After all, she hasn't attended social events for a long time, and this is a great opportunity to renew her activity in public life. And so let the lady understand that even if she lives in solitude, nothing will change. The Empress's face just turns pale, and she cries out, wondering what the guy even understands. But he replies that he is not delighted either, but Her Majesty did not contribute to the search for a suitable bride for him. And isn't it beneficial for both of them? Because all he has to do is announce that the lady came to the ball with him, and he won't have to dance with any girl. The main character watches all this and understands that the guy did not come to ask, but to convey an order, after which he rises from his seat and claims that he has a lot of work to do. But by the way, Her Majesty's maid makes very good tea. Well then, he says with a smile on his face that he thinks someone else could do it better. The main character thinks what is the point of bothering her, and the prince claims that he will drop by to see the lady next week, so let her be kind. And they are going to Marquis Velber's ball to get ready. The Empress is angry after that, and then she screams at the top of her lungs that this beetle is only good at talking. The main character wonders if she is talking about a beetle, but this definition does not at all correspond to the prince's appearance. The Empress at this time screams out, does this guy really think that she will pretend to be a bridesmaid? And the young lady thinks that it seems that now she understands where this hostility comes from. Her Majesty claims that she does not want to go to the ball and simply cannot appear there with this useless idiot. Well then, the woman comes up with something and claims that Parisa simply couldn't have had a debut And here is her chance to go out, the girl will go with her. And it is precisely at such moments that a personal maid is needed. The empire has a culture of life and secular society. To a superficial observer, it seems that the nobles only indulge in pleasures and wallow in luxury, that any of their dreams can come true with just a wave of a thought. However, society there is built on the most complex interactions. Ladies know cultural trends and fashion is shaped by them, strengthening influence through the formation of alliances between aristocratic families with due luck. There is a chance to grab the place of the bride of the heir to the throne. It was during Her Majesty, the Empress's debut in high society, that the Emperor noticed her. Makeup and fashionable clothes are now considered equal to military uniforms. And this place is full of riches of struggle, for power, love intrigues, and hidden competition. At this time, one of the maids turns to Her Majesty and claims that everything is ready. But when the woman looks at the result, she is surprised, and the main character thinks that this is also a kind of struggle. Therefore, she, helping Her Majesty, announces that she is entering a new battle. The girl also addresses Her Majesty, and he says that she is in the most fighting spirit. But the woman only screams, "What kind of horror is this?" and let them wash it off immediately. The maid immediately takes the main character away and says that they are guilty. The lady with pink hair claims that this is unthinkable because even entering this room in such a state is unforgivable. The main character asks if it is really that bad. After which, the woman says that it is strange because the girl has a good face shape and proportions, but nothing suits her, and maybe it's because it's her cosmetics. The main character at this time thinks that it's not easy to be strong in this world. A little while later, the Empress is already choosing a dress for the main character. They go through a lot of outfits, and one of the maids speaks to Her Majesty that this is the last of what is left. But when Parisa tries on this outfit, the Empress says that nothing suits her at all. The main character then asks Her Majesty why she is dressing up and not the Empress. Well, the woman wonders if she hasn't already said that she decided to help the girl with her debut. Debuting in Swedish society is a unique opportunity, so let the girl be grateful. But the main character thinks why she should do this. She also wonders what is so remarkable about aristocratic society, and the woman in turn asks if the girl is making fun of hers. Highest aristocratic society differs from the provincial one in that the circle of people invited to social events, in addition to the nobility, also includes the imperial family. Therefore, if a girl catches your eye in any way, it will not be difficult to find a person who wants to sponsor her. And there is also a chance to meet honored guests from other countries. So if the girl's debut goes perfectly, then her name may become famous in a foreign country. The young lady is already imagining how someone will burst into the ball, after which she will scream that she has been searched everywhere and she has been rolling around there all this time. So how dare she do that? The girl will then scream for the lady to let her say something, but the woman will scream that she needs these excuses because she is a traitor. So now the main character asks Her Majesty when the ball will take place. The Empress wonders if the girl hasn't heard, because it will take place next week. And the young lady thinks that nothing but that. A little while later, the Empress is already smiling and says that everything is as she knew. After all, she was saving this dress for a book party, but it is the most suitable style for Parisa. And even the makeup softens her features very successfully. The main character looks at herself and thinks, is everything really not so bad? But then she also realizes that it is not the time to go crazy and tells Her Highness that she will not be debuting. And she simply can't, after which the girl almost falls. One of the maids tells her to be careful. At this time, one of the prince's servants asks him what he thinks of the outfit. The guy replies that he likes everything, and perhaps it turned out even too beautiful. He assumed that he would be irresistible, but not to this extent. The servant then asks if something is wrong, and the prince replies that no, and he has worked hard, after all. Everything is perfect as always, and he is happy, and now he is completely ready. The guy also thinks that nothing can be done, because he is simply dazzling no matter how you look at him. At this time, the knight enters the room and addresses His Highness, and also says that he is about his order. The guy came to report on the interim results of the investigation, which is about Perez Menzel. She is 24 years old, and in her resume, the girl showed that she was engaged in fencing as a hobby. Therefore, her physical strength is well developed and her health is fine. She does not get tired and is able to cope with any task. At this time, the guy is wondering if fencing was really her hobby. Well, he wonders if there would have been calluses on her hands if it had been a simple hobby. The knight at this time says that, unfortunately, they could not find out anything more because their investigation had reached a dead end there. He tried to find information about the activity over the past 10 years, but no traces were found on the territory of their country. The prince then asks what he is talking about, and the guy claims that he also managed to establish the genealogy of the Menzel family. At present, the former head of the family is no longer alive, and that's all, nothing more is known. The prince realizes that it cannot be ruled out that the girl is only pretending to be an aristocrat, after which he claims that he is now worried. And is it also a coincidence that this suspicious lady ended up as mother's personal servant with some kind of dossier? The knight wonders what the prince will order to do next, to which he replies that so far there is nothing, and he needs to know more in order to do something, so he will figure it out himself. At this time, the Empress asks the main character if she has never learned to dance. A little while ago, she claimed how she would dare to accompany Her Majesty to the ball as a mere servant, without even the slightest dancing skills, and everyone would laugh at her. The girl also asked if the lady still wanted her to make her debut in high society, and realized that dancing was the only thing she could come up with. But a little while later, the teacher claps her hands and says that the girl is really doing very well. It's also the first time she's seen someone control their movements so well. The Empress says that she knew it, and the young lady doesn't even need to study, after which the main character tells Her Majesty that this is some kind of misunderstanding. But the teacher says that Her Majesty's maid has an unrivaled sense of balance and is simply a genius. The young lady thinks that, of course, since she has been developing her body since childhood, but the girl still thinks that soon she will go crazy. The teacher claims that everything is perfect and the lady has no shortcomings, after which the Empress confirms. The ball is tomorrow, so we need to go to bed early tonight. The main character then heads back to her room and wonders if she will have to quit. And also, are there no other options? Well then, one of the maids turns to Lady Parisa, and she says that after they were assigned, there's so many things fell on her head that she couldn't really introduce herself. After all, her name is Marie Doncon. The main character replies that she is very pleased to meet you, and her interlocutor claims that the personal maid has never stayed in this position for so long, and she can speak informally. Parisa replies that of course, and the girl can address her as she feels comfortable. The main character also thinks that this lady looks good-natured, and she thinks that they are the same age. Marie claims that, frankly speaking, this is the first time that Her Majesty has held the position of maid of honor for one person for so long, and she even takes care of Parisius. But the girl replies that their first meeting did not go so smoothly. The young lady also thinks about something, after which she turns to her interlocutor, and she wonders how many people were punished in this way and fired, after which the girl claims that the maid who had been there for a long time often talked about this, and in fact none of them have been fired. Yet Marie also says that she will be back soon and give the lady a facial massage. The main character then thanks her and wonders if the girl is already leaving. It's a pity that she hadn't done this before. But by the way, for some reason, she is in a wonderful mood now, and the girl is thinking why this is so. A little while ago, when the main character was little, she asked Rebella if everything was okay. The girl then turned to Parisa and claimed that she would definitely become stronger and would be stronger than everyone else. And she will also take revenge on everyone who laughed at her and called her weak. The girl also told Parisa to go with her. After all, together, they will become stronger, and the girl will always be by her side, to which the main character agreed. And she claimed that wherever her sister went, she would go with her. Now the main character wakes up on the floor and realizes that it was just a dream. A short time later, the Empress turns to the butler and asks what he has to say. The man replies that it looks like the lady is indeed making her debut, to which the woman replies that yes, and this is a real debut in high society. The main character claims that she has the feeling that she is disguising herself. And by the way, she didn't pay attention to the example of the movie. This dress is so unusual. The Empress wonders how the girl holds the fan at all, and she treats it like some kind of weapon. The lady with pink hair claims that the weather should be light and graceful as a feather. Then the butler approaches Her Majesty and states that the crown prince has arrived. The guy claims that he came to accompany his mother and extends his hand to her. The main character looking at this guy thinks that it is like a blinding blow to the heart, and she also wonders if he is real at all, because every time she sees him, her self-esteem suffers irreparably. At this time, the prince turns his attention to the main character and is surprised, and he wonders if this is the same servant. The Empress replies that yes, and this is her brilliant creation. After which, the guy says that Mother is especially beautiful today, and the woman asks if he wants to say that she is beautiful only today. The main character thinks that this is quite expected, because he ruined the whole mood and is looking at her strangely again. After that, they get into the carriage and head to the ball. The Empress turns to her maid and asks how she managed to ruin her hair so quickly, because she had just told her that a girl should be like a feather. The main character wonders why she is so happy and whether they are really going to the ball. The Empress claims that today the girl is her creation, and she must show her off to everyone. And the prince claims that the lady has a wonderful relationship with her maid, and the woman replies that she has to help her with everything. After which the prince says that, however, this is the first time he has heard of Lady Mensel's name. The girl replies that she comes from the provinces, so there is nothing surprising about this. And the guy asks if that's true. Parisa understands that she got out of it, after all. And the Empress turns to the prince and claims that she heard from him such a very disappointing thing. Therefore, let him not dare to neglect provincial births. The woman also addresses the young people and tells them to forget what the guy said. She also asks if her family is not rich and if they have enough money. After all, when they first met, the girl did not even have a decent dress. The main character replies that no one thinks whether Her Majesty has always been so kind. At this time, someone announces that they have arrived, and the prince helps his mother out of the carriage. He also asks her to take care of him today, but the woman only smiles, and he claims that he didn't understand, because today his partner will not be her. The prince is a little surprised by this, and the Empress cries out that today her personal servant is accompanying the prince. The main character is surprised by this because she hears about it for the first time. A little while later, they are already entering the hall, and the servant reports that Her Majesty the Empress and His Highness the Crown Prince have arrived. The aristocrats see Her Majesty and wonder if His Highness is there too. But then they see another lady next to him and ask who she is since the Crown Prince so rarely attends balls. So when did he manage to find a partner? A little while ago, the main character screamed that it was impossible. And why didn't the lady tell her anything, but the woman only asked if Parisa was now resisting her order? Because even if she can't, she still has to obey. Young ladies from all over the world would sell their souls just to hold hands with the Crown Prince. Personally, will dig his girlfriend for the whole evening. Well, the girl then cried out to Her Highness that he must be unhappy that his partner was some kind of servant. But the guy replied that he didn't really care, and also thought that it would be even easier to watch her. The prince also claimed that he thought Parisa might be shy of me and trust his heart, and also asked if she agreed. Now the young lady understands that his face has blinded her again, and she thinks about it again. So what kind of stupidity is this? Because the guy spoke as if they had known each other since they were babies. At this time, someone turns to His Highness and asks how he managed to chew all this time. The guy replies that they haven't seen each other for a long time and asks how the ladies chewed. One of them claims that she is so happy to see him after such a long time, and today, the prince finally attended the ball. The guy replies that he is flattered, but they should say hello first. With Her Majesty, the Empress, they are with him. One of the ladies then says that Her Majesty was there, after which he greets her, and also claims that she was afraid that they might interfere with her usually serene pastime. Well, apparently, she jumped to conclusions. After which the lady turns to His Highness once more. And he wonders who that lady is, and that she is seeing her for the first time next to him, and if no one is against it, then maybe he will introduce her. The man claims that she is Her Majesty's personal servant, and that this is her debut in high society, and that she is also his companion. Parisa also introduces herself and says it is a pleasure to meet you. One of the ladies asks if the girl is a personal servant, after which she exchanges glances with her friend. The girl also claims that Lady Parisa is so lucky. After all, she is only making her debut, but she is already His Highness's companion, and perhaps she should apply to be a maid of honor. Well then, one of the ladies says that she is hearing about this family name for the first time. The other one answers that she also does not know of any families with such a family name among the capital's aristocrats. Parisa replies that she comes from the provinces, so there is nothing surprising about this. And then one of the ladies smiles and apologizes because they know little about distant places. One of the aristocrats asks how the lady lives in the capital and how long it takes to get to her homeland by carriage. And for a village girl, she looks quite elegant. This lady also smiles and says that she would not like to offend Parisa, and she does not mean evil. The main character thinks that she understands perfectly well why the Empress doesn't like balls so much. And she did say that the prince should not dare to neglect provincial families because she foresaw something like this. Now, the Empress enters the conversation and asserts that of course the lady was worried. And that is why, among all the ladies there, she is the most interesting person, whether she is a capital aristocrat or comes from the provinces. Is this really the only thing they care about? One of the ladies then says that it is her mistake, because it seems like they have a special relationship with the maid, and Her Majesty is so sensitive to everything that is said to her. The blonde then claims that she was not serious and asks for forgiveness. And the main character, Tatarova, is angry and thinks, how dare they speak so arrogantly to the Empress? The Sea of Aegis washes 3 states, and the blessing of the god of the sea is the power granted in his name. Blessing true to its true nature is something that is given only to the chosen few who possess certain qualities. And it is quite natural that these people have always been objects of admiration due to their abilities. Soon, this gift from God became the personification of state power. And the prince, watching the young lady, understands that even if it is only a little, well, he is definitely afraid of her, who has power similar to God's blessing. At this time, another lady tells Her Majesty that she thinks so too, because Lady Parisa looks amazing today. And she really thinks that among all the ladies at the ball, she looks the best, and she kept wondering who worked so hard on her look. It turned out that Her Majesty personally took care of this, so she wholeheartedly congratulates Lady Parisa on her debut. The lady with pink hair claims that the girl is very perceptive. I ask if this is Countess Boucher. The Countess then asks if the Empress remembers her, to which she replies that of course, since she was present at her debut. And the lady says that it is an honor for her, but then the other noblewoman apologizes for interrupting their lovely conversation, but they seem to be wasting Her Majesty's time in vain, so perhaps they will go and not disturb her. The prince says that of course, because the ball will open soon, and he hopes that they will all have fun today, after which they thank His Highness and say that they will then take their leave. The main character understands that they behaved arrogantly towards Her Majesty until the very end. The prince, watching the girl get angry, wondered if she had really released this energy herself, without realizing it. But now everything is fine. At this time, the main character turns to Her Majesty and asks what they are doing there. After all, such bad manners must be stopped. However, the woman says that it is enough, and let the girl just get ready for the first dance. The main character is surprised by this, and the prince asks if the lady's personal servant is ready for him. The Empress also wonders why the girl is surprised, because the capital's balls are opened by members of the imperial family, and today she is the prince's partner, and if she understood everything, then let her go faster, because music is playing. The main character understands that this moment has come, and in this duel, her opponent will be the crown prince. Well, if she dances and entertains others, then the Empress's mood will improve. The young lady then goes to the prince and claims that she must warn him in advance. After all, she can trample all his feet, and it will hurt him a lot. The guy is a little surprised by this, after which everyone smiles at him. But Parisa insists she's not joking and only learned to dance last week. She's also heavy. The guy at this point thinks it's funny, and then extends his hand to her and claims that he will try to prevent this from happening. After all, he also needs to warn her about something, after which they begin to dance. And the guy tells her to watch and not to faint. A little while later, someone shouts that being accompanied by a prince is a good start. And he asks Lady Parisa if this is true, but the girl claims that she prefers not to remember it. Marie asks why, since rumors that last night she fulfilled the dream of many ladies are flying around like hot cakes. Well, the main character claims that, in any case, she will never have such a chance again, and asks if they were all waiting for the moment to mock her. The girl also wonders how they will order her to work. Well, then one of the ladies asks if Parisa doesn't know yet, because after the ball, Her Majesty gave them all a day off. At this time, the butler also approaches them and claims that they are entitled to a special bonus for the weekend. The young lady hearing this immediately extends her hands and states that she is very grateful. The man claims that her love for money is unshakable, but nevertheless, she gave them 2 days of rest so that they will see each other soon. The young lady then thinks that, unlike others, she is Her Majesty's personal servant. And also, will something terrible happen if she is not next to her? At this time, one of the maids turns to Parisa, and he asks what she plans to do over the weekend, and whether she has already thought of anything. The main character is about to answer that she hasn't come up with anything yet, and the maid claims that it's great, because then she can rely on her. Marie suggests going shopping on the shopping street. After this, the main character thinks and thinks that everything must be fine since she was given an official day off. And Marie then says goodbye and says that they will meet later at the back entrance of the palace. Parisa agrees, but thinks that, anyway, she has lived through a terribly tiring adventure, so she will take advantage of this opportunity and have a good rest. A little while later, someone comes into His Highness's room, and the man tells the servant to come in. The knight tells His Highness that on his orders he has completed the investigation. The prince claims that she is beautiful and invites him to report what is going on with the Menzel family. And the knight claims that this is an aristocratic family, but in fact they only have a noble title, since this family is in no way connected to the emperors. This is an unremarkable noble family, and is more or less well known outside the capital. Well, some details still seemed suspicious to him, because he still couldn't find out what she had been doing before that. And also, how this girl became a maid in the imperial palace, as if she had never existed before. The guy also hands over documents, and claims that he found them in documents from another country, and that the details of the immersion into eternal sleep of the deceased head of the Menzel family are described there. Due to the absence of a legal spouse, he had no official heirs, and subsequently, the title of Viscount passed by inheritance to his younger brother. The knight also claims that the investigation into people with magical abilities has unfortunately not borne fruit, and the man says that nothing can be done, because people endowed with special powers are scattered throughout the world, and he allowed it. That finding information about the most powerful ability will be extremely difficult. Unlike Lentias, where the heir to the throne is the strongest mage in other countries, the blessings of the mandarins are much more numerous. The knight replies that yes, information can only be obtained in cooperation with other countries. Otherwise, it will not be possible to find out the approximate extent of their personal information, and it would be unwise to risk it and try to extract information close to a military secret through espionage. Well, at that very moment, someone knocks on the door and the prince tells that person to come in, after which a guy comes in and asks for forgiveness, and also claims that he is regarding the object of observation, and also that he has something to report. The man then says that he is very convenient, after which he turns to the knight. He responds, and His Highness tells him to continue to keep an eye on Parisa. A little while later, the main character is already heading to the city in a carriage, after which she and another maid arrive there, and Marie claims that she hasn't walked in the city center for a long time. The main character claims that she has only traveled to palaces so far, and that they are too crowded. Well then, another maid grabs the young lady's hand and says that they should go there. When they enter one of the alleys, the main character claims that there is almost no one there. The girl claims that they are servants of the Empress's palace and can afford to rest wherever they want. Well then, the main character looks at one of the display cases and sees a necklace there for 500 nira. She also claims that this street has expensive shops, and that's why it's so empty. But then Marie says that they work in a palace and must always maintain their dignity. Moreover, the girl is Her Majesty's personal servant, and she generally needs to very carefully monitor her reputation because she does not want to destroy the Empress's authority. The girl then understands that it is true, because the Empress's reputation cannot be harmed, but today she has 2,000 NIR, and then a quarter will go on a necklace. Marie claims that she seems to know which store the girl should definitely be taken to. A little while later, they are already there, and the worker claims that they use crystals instead of gemstones, so the prices are lower. The main character looks at this dress and realizes that the product is decorated with lace and crystals, allows the use of lower quality fabrics in sewing, and she has already seen this design because it is used in mass production. The girl also understands that she has spent a lot of time in the Empress's dressing room, so she is now well informed. At this time, the girl asks if this is by any chance Lady Paresa, which makes the main character surprised and wonders if the girl really knows her. The worker replies that of course, because she is His Highness's lady, after which the main character chokes, and asks what the girl just called her, the worker, claims that everyone on this shopping street knows her. After which she also smiles and claims that since Lady Paresa herself came to them to buy, she will provide a special discount, after which the girl asks if there is anything else that she liked. Mirai just promptly suggests Paresa to go look around some more, and when they go further, the girl asks why her colleague didn't choose anything in that store, because she must like a different style of clothing. But the main character only claims that it is amazing how quickly rumors spread in this country. The girl also thinks that this is a big problem because she only appeared in public with the crown prince once, and the news spread all the way to neighboring countries. At this time, someone else turns to Lady Paresa and asks if it is she by any chance. The main character wonders if this is really happening again, and the woman claims that she is grateful to her with all her heart. After all, thanks to her, she has an incredible number of orders, and she talks about the dress that the lady wore to the ball. The main character remembers him and understands what it means that this woman designed that dress. Parisa claims that she is pleased to meet him, and thanks to the diligence of the summer, her debut was a success. Marie at this time wonders if this is really Viscountess Venus, and the woman at this time claims that since they met so successfully, does the lady want to visit her boutique, because she will pick out an outfit for her again. At this time, Marie tells the girl to agree, because the Viscountess is now the most sought-after couturier. A little while later, the main character is already wearing a dress from the Viscountess, and her colleague claims that Parisa is such a beauty. The main character thinks what else to expect from the Empress's own couturier and the decorations on this dress and in Maru, as well as the high-quality fabric. Marie at this time turns to the young lady and asks how she likes this dress, because it suits her very well. So the girl asks if the lady will buy it. Parisa answers that she also liked this dress very much, but she does not have the money to buy such a high-quality dress. After which, the woman claims that she will sell it for 300 NIR, which surprises the girls. Parisa realizes that she has just almost spent money on a dress whose quality left much to be desired, but at a much higher price. After which, she asks if it is too cheap to, which the woman replies that it is indeed so, because this is the price for materials and sewing. However, in this dress, Lady Paresa will shine brighter than anyone else in the social circle, and then her dresses will be on the lips of every lady in the capital. The main character then tells her to wait a second and asks, what does it mean to shine in social circles when she no longer planned to attend balls? However, the woman claims that it doesn't matter, because she should just wear this dress wherever she goes. At this time, Marie screams that she needs to take this dress quickly, because it's very profitable. A little while later, the woman asks if Letty is taking all 3 sets, and the total comes to 1,000 NIR. The main character realizes that she ended up buying 3 dresses, but for that price, they were practically a gift. The woman claims that she is also giving the lady a special 30% discount and asks if she would like to take advantage of it. A little while later, the two leave the boutique, and Marie claims that the content is over. So all that's left is to look at the accessories. But if they continue like this, there will be a hole in her wallet. Paresa claims that they have already spent a lot on the dress, and can they afford jewelry as well? But the girl replies that this is okay, because she knows an inexpensive place there, so it won't be so burdensome. Well, at that very moment, the girl is surprised and screams why the light is turned off. And also, are they really not working today? After which the girl says that she will go and check, and will also be back soon. The main character thinks that it is nice to go shopping sometimes. After all, they can buy jewelry and dresses. But at that very moment, the main character hears some kind of scream, after which she turns to Marie and asks what happened. But the girl only wonders what she should do now. The main character immediately runs up to her colleague and asks if she is okay. But the girl with tears in her eyes tells Parisa that all the money she earned was stolen. At this time, the man runs into a dead end, after which he turns around and sees the main character there. The girl says that he was caught, after which he asks if this is really the girl from the palace. And it's so arrogant of her to rush after him. After which the man is going to attack the fly, and she says that she brought trouble upon herself. However, at the same moment, the main character hits the guy on the legs. from which he falls to the ground. The main character tells him to return the wallet. But the man screams, "Can she be serious?" because he will soon completely lose his temper. At that very moment, someone asks what this guy is doing, since they only entrusted him with one miserable task, after which these people look at their colleague and ask what's wrong with his face. And also, did he really hit on a girl and get punched in the face? Another one claims that this guy, of course, is far from handsome, but this is too much. After which, one of them approaches the young lady and asks if she is too picky. Well, then the other guy says what a fool his colleague is, and also, is he really that stupid? Because there is no need to look after someone like that. Well, because you can take everything she has and run away. But judging by everything, she has a lot of money. But at that very moment, the main character kicks him in the neck, causing him to fly away. The other guys then look at her in shock, and then even get ready to attack. But when the main character turns to them, the bandits realize that they can't lift a finger. Parisa claims that she can't stand scoundrels like them because they stole money earned through honest work, after which the young lady tells them to give this money here, and one of the guys holds out a wallet. After which, the main character also tells them to live honestly, because if she sees them even once more, she promises that they will not get off so easily. But at that very moment, someone screams for the knights to run there because the thieves are there. It turns out to be Marie. She also asks Lali Paresa, and also what happened. And what's with the thieves? The main character then tries to justify herself and claims that they stole Marie's wallet, which is why she ran after them. They fought with each other because they could not divide the loot, after which the knight says that it is clear and asks if the lady is injured. The thieves are taken away, and the knight asks for forgiveness because they should pay more attention to public safety. He also apologizes to Lady Parisay for asking for such a day off, but could she please follow them to the investigation department? The main character of the Atom is shocked, and her colleague asks why. The guy answers that the criminals who were just arrested had been wanted for a long time. Yes. And besides, they dared to target the maids from the Empress's palace, so they only need their testimony for reporting, and they don't have to worry. The main character says that since this is the case, nothing can be done, after which she hands her wallet to her colleague. She also apologizes for not keeping her promise, but it's already late, so she should go back to the dorm quickly. Marie agrees, and the main character tells the girl not to worry, because she will be back soon. A little while later, the knight claims that he has brought her, and the man inside says that the girl should come in. The main character realizes that she has heard this voice somewhere before, and when she goes inside, then the prince claims that he would never have thought that they would meet there. The young lady already wants to scream what he forgot there. Well, it only says whether His Highness is responsible for the investigative department. The guy replies that it is true, so he asks her if she was robbed in the city center. Paresa laughs nervously and claims that she was very lucky because the knights arrived at the last minute. The guy smiles after this, and the main character thinks, why is he doing this? After which he says that perhaps then he will ask the last question, and wonders what the lady knows about Dunamis. The girl wonders why he suddenly asks such a thing, after which he claims that it is an island state, which is in the northeastern seas, and wonders if he asks about it. The guy replies that it's right on target together with the Lanas Empire and the Oligot Kingdom. Dunamis is one of 3 states that share the power of the sea deity, and he knows a lot of interesting things about this kingdom. For example, that it is there. The second son of the Menzel family immigrated. The main character then begins to feel some kind of power around her, and is surprised, after which she finds herself completely wrapped in the power of plants, and the man asserts that in the kingdom of Dunamis power can awaken not only in members of the royal family. The main character then breaks out of the plants and asks if His Highness really planned to get rid of her. The guy replies that it is not at all the answer, that she has a blessing, and that one way or another, she would have managed to get out. But the girl is interested in what would have happened if he had made a mistake, and if she had not had abilities, but the guy claims that this is impossible. After all, as the heir to the throne, he had interacted with the flow of the estuary his entire life, and it is not surprising that he was able to feel the energy that she so carelessly splashed out. After which he says that, in that case, he would very much like to hear her excuses. What is the purpose of her stay there? And the reason? And also why? Is she hiding everything? After which the guy advises her to think carefully, because his verdict directly depends on what she will say. Now the young lady then thinks, why is he picking on her? Well, he claims that she is Her Majesty's personal servant, and nothing more, no matter how many times he sniffs around. However, the man claims that she is not a simple servant. And one day, such an excellent servant of the Empress appeared, who is a provincial lady without a pedigree and a practically non-existent past. And this is quite enough for the job. However, everything changes if the stranger who entered the palace is the bearer of the aura of the sword, and so which cannot be allowed. She is now effectively detained on suspicion of espionage, and after the interrogation, she will be removed from her position as a personal servant. And it would be better for her to voluntarily confess everything, but the girl claims that she would prefer to remain silent. After which the prince smiles and says that it is good, and also whether she wants to say that she was trained so well. He also asks why she doesn't want to talk, and the girl replies that she simply has nothing to tell him, and she is not a spy, and he is also wasting his time and energy. But the man says that her words had better be true. Then the lady says that she has not lied to him in anything, but does His Highness really have reason to suspect Dunamis of spying? After all, as he himself knows, Dunamis is invulnerable, thanks to the magic of swordsmen. Origin does not matter if you have talent and aspirations. In the territory of the kingdom, the Scylla is not a support for the authorities, and in proportion to the abilities, the responsibility also increases. This is to protect and lead the people. The owner of the divine gift has his own purpose, and if a person has strayed from the righteous path, the blessings are withdrawn. And she, Paresa Menzel, swears by the name of the sea deity that she dares to assert that the blessing is still as strong and insists on her innocence. The guy then says that it's good, and he knows a little about the purpose. Well, he wonders what she can tell him about the successor to the royal power Dunamis, to the crown princess Rebella Dunamis. The girl is surprised by this, and the guy asks if she has nothing to say to him, and even about the fact that she is called the most influential person in Dunamis. The main character then says that of course she knows and tells the guy that since he is also an heir, they are well aware that of the current king's 4 children, she is the only daughter, and therefore she is the last in line to the throne, and she is a weak and chronically ill girl. No one could have imagined that in the future she would receive a blessing and eventually take first place in line to the throne. This is the history of the Dunamis royal family today, and no one expected that the princess would gain such a powerful force. Before the absolute power of the ruler, even the current king, who is her father, bowed his head before her. News of her as the most outstanding successor of the generation spread so quickly that there was no one who had not heard of the princess. And the guy asks her today if she was the right hand of that very famous Rebella. So let her give him at least one reason why he should believe that the girl is not a spy, sent by the knights of Bologna, carrying out the orders of the crown princess of another kingdom. The girl realizes that she didn't expect the conversation to go this far, after which she claims that since he was so well prepared, he should also know that the princess treats her subordinates as her property. She ran away from there of her own free will. If she hadn't fled abroad, everything could have ended much worse for her than it did now. At this time, someone hits Marie in the face and screams, "Is it really so difficult to carry out just one order?" The girl claims that she is sincerely sorry, but the countess screams that enough is enough, and she does not want to hear her. The woman also claims that this girl is not even capable of finding out information, and since she is a provincial, it should be easier for her to win people over. And all that is required of her is to prepare a place for her in high society. After which, the woman asks if this useless piece of trash understands what is needed from her. And since she is no longer capable of anything, let her at least answer the question of what Paresa Menzel is. The girl then replies that she is empty inside, and it seems that this girl is indifferent to everything. Because of the privileges granted to her by the Empress herself as a servant, she follows her everywhere despite all the dirty rumors. In addition, she is very stubborn, and her devotion to the Empress is sincere. You can't take that away. The woman then wonders if there is anything in the world that cannot be taken away. And when she asks the girl if she understood what was required of her, she answers the countess yes. The woman then claims that she had heard rumors that he was returning. Therefore, let the girl always remember thanks to whom she occupies this place, to which the maid replies that she will remember. At this time, the knight takes the main character to her room, and she claims that this room is huge. The girl wonders if she will really be the only one living in such a large room, to which the guy replies that yes, His Highness has provided her with the best room among the free guest rooms nearby. Yes. And besides, he prepared something else as an apology. The main character thinks that he hardly knows how to ask for forgiveness at all. The knight claims that he would like to thank the lady on his own behalf, since he was watching her on the orders of His Highness when trouble happened to her friend. He was nearby by chance and could have immediately rushed to help, but he neglected his duties. While he hesitated, the lady without hesitation rushed after the criminals. And as soon as he came to his senses, he immediately called for reinforcements, so the guy thanks the lady for showing nobility. Standing alone against injustice, the young lady thinks that he is such a sincere person, and also says that the guy overpraises her. After all, she was just doing what she had to do. The guy then wonders if it was really His Highness. However, the main character asks if he is saying that she will receive a monetary reward, and the guy replies that he definitely does. A little while later, the young lady is already wishing Her Majesty good morning, after which she looks at the woman. And he understands that, apparently, Her Majesty is in a bad mood. And it turns out that the furniture and decor have been rearranged. That's why the main character wonders if something really happened in her absence. Well, the Empress immediately screams for the girl to stop standing there like a pillar, and also helps her get ready to go out. After which, she also says that it seems that 2 days of vacation had a negative impact on her attitude towards work, because even if the girl continues in the same spirit, she will not see any more vacation pay. The main character thinks that she is even offended, because if she had the opportunity to have a normal rest, then everything would be different. And of all the people in the world, she fell for the crown prince. When the girl explained that she ran away without permission, who the guy said was understandable, and no matter how you look at it, her story is still complete nonsense and doesn't fit, because she says that she's hiding. But why then did she become a personal servant to a member of the imperial family? The girl replied that as far as he knew, not long ago, she was a very ordinary servant of the low class. And yet he claims that even a maid in the imperial palace is a prominent position. After which the main character talks about money, but very quietly, and the guy asks what she is talking about. The young lady then cries out in embarrassment that she has run out of money and has been cheated in some god-forsaken shop. Therefore, she did not have a penny left for travel expenses, and the highest-paying job on the exchange turned out to be that of a maid in the palace. The guy then says that it is clear, but the main character understands that he has never heard such terrible words about financial difficulties in his life, after which she says that he could at least pretend to sympathize for the sake of decency. A little while later, she heads after the Empress and thinks that she hasn't caused any problems so far, so she'll just continue in the same spirit. After which the main character thinks that perhaps now it is worth saying Empress, and turns to her. The woman then asks what she is talking about, and the young lady remembers that the prince said that if she does not want to be fired from her position as his mother's personal servant, then she should be kind enough to fulfill one condition. So now the young lady claims that, frankly speaking, she came from Dunamis. The main character also understands that this condition was to reveal her secret to his mother, and also promise not to cut the aura, and he will allow her to hide there further. Now the young lady thinks that it seems that this is all that was required of her, but why is the woman silent? The lady with pink hair asks if that's all, to which the main character replies that, and the Empress claims that she already thought that the girl wanted to tell something important. After which the Empress turns around and claims that she is known for a long time. Parisa shocked asks since when. But Her Majesty asks who the girl takes her for, because she is after all the Empress, and as soon as she heard her accent, she immediately understood everything. After all, she has a pronunciation typical for residents of port cities and citizens of the kingdom of Dunamis. The main character says that it is clear that since the Empress knew where she was from, did it seem strange to Tony, and did she doubt her? After all, what if she was a spy? After Parisa sees the Empress's reaction, he says that she is certainly not a spy, but the woman claims that this makes no sense, because she would not have been able to find out anything from her. The main character is surprised by this, and wonders what she is talking about, after which the woman screams, "Let the girl think for herself, after all. Who in their right mind would send someone like her to spy? After all, the girl is not perceptive, she has no ingenuity at all, and she is not even aware of what is happening in the capital. So her carelessness did not allow her to doubt for a second. At that moment, someone runs up to Her Majesty and addresses her. The maid reports that His Majesty the Emperor has finally returned. A little while later, the woman is already sitting with her husband, and he claims that he sincerely regrets that he had to leave her for so long. And no matter how many things fall on his head, he does not want her to listen to all these pathetic excuses because he was inattentive to her. This deeply hurts his loving heart. He answers the Empress that it is not a big deal because he worked so hard, after which the man claims that on the way back, all he did was remember her tender appearance, and the woman says that her darling should stop looking at her already because the food is getting cold. The main character understands that the Emperor is better preserved than she imagined, and she heard that they have a 10-year age difference, and he also saw his dishonest debauchee, and not one freshness. However, its beauty is striking, and it seems the Empress feels great. The awkwardness was obviously caused by her failure to introduce herself properly, after which the main character turns to another maid and asks if His Majesty appears there rarely. She answers that if she doesn't answer, he comes quite often. He has been very busy lately fighting a large forest fire in the east, and it is a well-known fact that the Emperor possesses a magical attribute of water that heals wounds. The fire caused enormous damage to the environment, and even His Highness the Crown Prince helped revive the forest with the fertile power of the earth attribute. The main character realizes that she heard that in Lanties, only members of the imperial family are blessed, and the maid at this time asks if it is amazing because she is so proud that she works for the imperial family. Paresa understands that this is how it looks from the outside. But in any case, she did not expect that she would have the opportunity to meet the Emperor in person so soon. And although the Empress did not like the prince for some reason, the prince took care of her. And since she is now part of the Empress's inner circle in the future, she will often have to see the Emperor. And the man at this time says that, by the way, he heard that his wife did keep the prince company at the ball, and he thanks her for fulfilling his request. The Emperor also claims that he heard many rumors about the prince's partner, and the woman claims that the top was her personal servant, since they arranged her debut. The Emperor then wonders if she has a new servant and would be curious to meet her personally. Well, the main character is then shocked and thinks that she shouldn't be interested in her. At this time, the Empress turns to Parisa and tells her to come over and say hello, after which the main character approaches His Majesty and lifts her dress. She also introduces herself and states that she is glad to meet you. The man then wants to ask the main character something, but the Empress interrupts him and claims that this girl came from the provinces and is also a devoted servant who conscientiously carries out all orders. The man then asks if this is really true and looks at the main characters. However, the girl only thinks what he wants from her again and whether their son is the crown prince, and they both have one brain. After all, both the father and his unbearable son are acting cautiously. The man then says that it is good, and he thinks that this girl is different from the previous maids. The woman then asks if he noticed, and Parisa is respectable and also honest, so she trusts her completely, and this girl pleases her with her cute face day after day, and also does everything she asks her to do perfectly. The main character at this time is in shock, thinking whether the Empress really praised her, and the man claims that he was worried about why she couldn't get along with her personal servant, and he would be incredibly happy if Parisa stayed with her for a long time. The main character understands that apparently everything is not so bad. The next day, the young lady thinks that she is sure that the meeting with His Majesty ended well. She was also ready to swear that the atmosphere yesterday was the most inviting, and that right up until the Emperor's departure, things were simply wonderful. But now the girl is standing at the door and wondering what the problem is. After which she reaches out to open the door. Well, one of the maids turns to the girl and says that it's better not to go there now because she's not herself and is raging and throwing tantrums. Paresa says that then she is even more simply obliged to intervene, since she is Her Majesty's personal servant. Marie says that when Her Majesty is not in the mood, you can't go to her, and that's an unspoken rule. Otherwise, you can get hurt. But the main character then tells her to stop because the Empress could also suffer, after which there is silence between them. The young lady says that everything is fine, and they may not go out because she goes alone. But as soon as the girl steps over the threshold, then a vase flies at her, the girl grabs it. At this time, the Empress screams, "Of course, who else could it be?" She also claims that she did not allow this impudent girl to come in, And the main character claims that in the mornings, Her Majesty has a habit of going out into the garden for a walk. And her responsibilities include helping with morning toilet and preparing dresses for going out. But the woman only screams that she did not give her an order, and the girl crossed all possible boundaries of what is permitted. Otherwise, she is simply mocking her. Paresa understands that she is crying, after which she tells Her Majesty that the broken one is her personal servant, and she can tell her about everything so that she is not disturbed. While the woman grabs a pillow from the bed and throws it at Paris, after which she screams out what the hell she understands. The Empress also notices that the girl caught the pillow, and Parisa claims that she too understands little. After all, Her Majesty doesn't tell her anything at all. The woman then once again claims that she told her to get out of there and she doesn't want to see her, and that she is also fired. But the main character replies that she won't just leave. After all, if she leaves, she'll immediately have to register with the labor exchange again, and also look for a new job. And she has the right to know the reason why she will be forced to leave her duties. Therefore, the young lady says that Her Majesty should tell her what it is that makes her so sad. Her Majesty at this time thinks what an unbearable girl this is, after which she wonders if the girl really thinks that she is sad. On the contrary, she is angry and takes her anger out on those around her. Parisa says that, and perhaps that is how it is. But then she approaches the lady and claims that she is crying, and that something unbearably sad must have happened to Her Majesty. The woman then thinks that this girl is really so wonderful. After all, she acts as if she sees right through her. Parisa says that perhaps the lady is irritated by the people standing behind the door, and the woman at this time thinks where the girl was, all this time before she came to her. A little while later, the knight informs the prince that he has been informed that His Majesty the Emperor has stayed overnight at the Empress's palace, and that he has arrived home early this morning. The boy then says that apparently his mother's maid behaved quietly, and his father did not leave him any special messages. The knight at this time claims that he was also given this upon his return. These are invitations to balls, but the knight also asks His Highness if he is tired yet. The guy then thinks that no matter how much he thinks about it, that maid is still quite cute. At this point, the knight turns to His Highness, and he comes out of his thoughts, after which the boy claims that he would like to know. But the prince realizes that he has not been himself lately, and he constantly thinks only about this maid, so he understands that he is somehow overly excited. The guy also looks at one of the letters and wonders if it is from the Duchy of Eris. At this time, the main character calms the Empress, and the maids outside the door ask if she has calmed down. One of them then replies that yes, after which she turns to Marie and suggests that they go because it's their job to warn because they at least tried. And Parisa herself will soon understand that the ship she boarded is rotten through and through. A little while later, Her Majesty asks the maid if it suits her, to which the main character replies, "Of course." After which she claims that everything is ready and that she will outshine anyone with her beauty. After this, the woman screams, "Is she really making fun of me?" And then they even suggest redoing it. The main character understands that Her Majesty is not telling her anything at all, and perhaps she has not yet fully opened her heart to her stir. But it seems she is finally ready to make the first move. Her Majesty bore the title of Baroness before her marriage, and this is the lowest ranking hierarchy. It belonged to a minor noble family. One day at a ball, the girl met the Emperor, and His Majesty fell in love with her at first sight and immediately proposed to her. The woman then asked if the girl knew how many people looked at her with disgust because of her low birth. In society, people avoid her, and she constantly hears ridicule, but if she were to fight back, she would be called a cruel and selfish villain. The Empress also claims that she was gradually deprived of the powers given to her, and now she is only conditionally an Empress. And only in her palace can she breathe a sigh of relief, so she thinks that this is exactly what they were trying to achieve. The main character then turns to Her Majesty and asks what she herself wants, and also whether she wants to continue living like this, after which the woman is silent for a while, and then claims that no, and she does not want this. Now they are heading in a carriage, and the Empress screams that, of course she said so. However, now she is not ready because nothing will change if she just comes. And even more so, how can you go on a visit without warning in advance? But the main character then claims that Her Majesty is an Empress, and there is nothing that she cannot afford. But since she continues to insist, Parisa claims that she will go first. The social season of the Lanas Empire, it is safe to say, is crowned by the ball of the imperial family. It is believed that no one is able to recreate the luxurious atmosphere, similar to that organized by the Empress at the ball. Therefore, if you want to stand out in high society, then you should not miss the imperial ball under any circumstances. However, everything changed after the Empress fell into eternal sleep, and the organization of the collapse passed into the hands of the eldest member of the imperial family, Duchess Amour. That is why their destination is the house of the Duchess of Amour, and right now they are there for that, to return the Empress to her former power, after which the main character whispers, "And the lady that now all powers will pass to her." When they are in the room, the Duchess states that she is glad that Her Majesty has finally decided to suggest that you do so. She also claims that she knew the lady had a hard time making this decision, and although she doesn't show emotions in public, she guessed that it was incredibly difficult for Her Majesty. And after all, an old lady like her simply couldn't help but notice her condition. At this time, the Empress asks if she is in charge of everything from now on, and her interlocutor answers that this is true, but there is very little time left, so she can suggest that she take as a basis what she has already managed to prepare. When the two go outside, the Empress claims that she is still at a loss. After all, everything was resolved so easily. The main character claims that, frankly speaking, she also did not expect this, because the Duchess was responsible for the preparations all this time. The lady with pink hair wonders if this is all real, and she can't believe that it's her turn to attend the imperial ball. The Duchess at this time turns to one of the maids and then states that she wants to convey her greetings to Duke Eris, so let her go to the duchy and convey this, to which the girl agrees. The woman then rises from her seat and claims that Her Majesty has paid her such a sudden visit, and she has been living for a very long time, so she has seen a lot, and a lot has really changed. But the Duchess also asks if it isn't fun to do things like that sometimes, because surely he would be pleased too. At this time, the Empress claims that she is tired, and she is glad that the conversation went well. So from tomorrow, it is necessary to begin active preparation. The lady with pink hair also claims that she wonders if people will come, knowing that she is the organizer. Parisa tells Her Majesty not to worry, because soon they will all kneel before her, and she remembered those impudent girls well. The Empress then suggests that the girl calm down, after which he asks why she is so tired. The woman also says that everything worked out well, and she managed to relax, and the main character suggests that the lady sleep a little. Well then, the main character feels how Her Majesty lays her head on her shoulder, after which he turns to her and thanks her. Parisa tells the lady not to worry about anything. Sometime later, invitations to the ball organized by the Empress were sent to all aristocratic families, starting with members of the imperial family, dukes, marquises, and counts, ending with the families of viscounts and barons. Even the smallest noble families from all over the provinces were no exception. The text of the letter was not full of innovations, but there was one previously unfamiliar detail. The current Empress was listed as the organizer of the ball, and she would open the ball. A little while later, the aristocrats are already entering there, and one lady says that this is incredible because it is not like the imperial balls they are used to. There are completely different sensations there, and the current Empress undoubtedly has a developed sense of beauty. Another girl agrees, but says she is surprised that the Duchess has handed over her powers, and probably Her Majesty and His Highness have become quite close over the past few days. However, then the aristocrats look at the tribune, where the Empress comes out, and are surprised. The woman thanks everyone for honoring them with their visit, and hopes that the aristocrats will all have a wonderful time today. People are a little embarrassed by the beautiful appearance of the Empress, and the main character understands that it is as she thought. There is not a single person in the room who is not taken aback by her incredible beauty, after which everyone claps, and the main character understands that step by step her mistress will be able to fully recover, and she will return the Empress her lost authority. Parisa also addresses the Empress and says that she did a great job, so she thinks that the lady left no one there indifferent. The woman claims that maybe this is her reward for her hard work, but then someone else turns to Mother and says that she has surprised him. It turns out to be the prince. He claims that he has not heard a single flattering comment so far. After this, the Empress says that the guy is somehow shining brighter than usual today, but she doesn't like him. The woman also claims that he doesn't like points, and what will he do if the emperor does start talking about his daughter-in-law? She helped him with the furnishings, so let the guy be kind and take a closer look at someone. At this time, the main character notices the prince looking at her, and he only asks if his mother is talking about marriage. After all, if that's the case, then let her not worry, because when the time comes, he will sort this issue out himself. Parisa wonders why he's staring at her with his little eyes. A little while later, someone else comes into the room and claims that she hasn't been there for a long time, after which the woman also asks if she is too late, and also says that she is glad to greet Her Majesty. The main character asks who she is, and the prince replies that she is the Duchess of Empress. He also says that this is his aunt, and claims that he will go down and let the girl help his mother. And the main character turns to the Empress and thinks why he suddenly asks to help her. Well, when she sees the state her mistress is in, she is surprised and immediately runs up to her. A little while later, the two are walking down the stairs. The prince at this time tells his aunt that he must admit that he did not expect to see her there at all, since she appeared so suddenly, without warning anyone, and must have decided to postpone her travels for a while. The woman replies that she could not miss the imperial ball personally organized by the Empress herself, and was so excited that she completely forgot about the time while preparing. At this time, the main character whispers to Her Majesty and asks if she is okay. Well then, another woman notices her and addresses Her Majesty. She walks up to the pink-haired lady and hugs her, claiming that she missed her, but she really wanted to meet her as soon as possible, because during the time they had not seen each other, the Empress had even managed to organize a ball herself. And it turns out she is even capable of this. It is so unusual, and the woman claims that they will see each other more often in the future. And the woman also asks if the Empress is against it. At this time, people in the hall begin to whisper among themselves. Some of them claim that this was to be expected, and also whether the girl really thought that something could really change. She tried so hard to hold on to the prince, but it was all in vain, and she thought that she was strong and could cope. But that was not the case, because she should have known her place. At this time, the emperor's sister claims that she thinks it's time for her to go, but at that very moment, the Empress falls to the floor. The main character immediately grabs her mistress, and the prince screams for the doctor to be brought there quickly, and the ball is over. At this time, the prince's aunt says that this is not right at all, and the Empress must have worked so hard on the preparations that she completely forgot about rest. And somewhere, something was not noticed, after which the woman extends her hand. But the main character grabs her and then tells her not to dare. The prince realizes that the girl has again started to unconsciously release her aura. But he warned her and asked her not to do it again, after which the guy tells the maid to help mother get up, and followed him because he will take them to a separate room. The main character then lets go of the woman's hand, and he lifts his mistress into his arms and then heads for the prince. At this time, someone addresses the Duchess of Empress. The woman then says that she hasn't seen the Countess for a long time. Ita replies that many days have passed since their last meeting, after which she also asks how her travels are going. The Duchess thanks him for his concern, and by the way says that this is the first time she has seen this lady, after which they even ask who she is. The lady with red hair answers that this girl's name is Parisa. She is Her Majesty's new personal servant, and as the lady could see, she takes great care of the Empress. The Duchess then smirks and claims that she can't wait for her opportunity to meet her in person and have a conversation. The Empress found herself in the palace at the age of 20. The lady with pink hair then sat over a cup of tea and claimed that she was gradually beginning to get used to life in the palace, and all this was only thanks to Lady Ayres. The Duchess then said that Her Majesty should not be shy about calling her by name. A little while later, the two girls were walking through the garden, and the Duchess asked the Empress if she would like to have a tea party. After all, she will have the opportunity to get to know the ladies better, with whom she is currently having trouble getting along, and then she will be able to communicate with them as freely as with her. The lady with pink hair asked the woman if she really thought so, to which she replied that of course she did. And besides, the Empress is so smart, and everyone will definitely like her. Soon the Empress began preparing for her first tea party. The girl chose tea and told the maid to prepare this tea too, along with the service and sweets selected. Especially for tea, the table was decorated with beautiful flowers. The girl also looked at the table and thought that she was wondering what exactly the other ladies would like. Thinking about the noble ladies she was about to meet, the girl carefully prepared for the tea party for a whole week. And that day came. The Empress then asked one of the maids what time it was. After all, it would be good to slowly sit on the bed and table, after which she also thought whether she had incorrectly indicated the time in the invitations. A little while later, someone said that the guests had arrived. But when the girl saw them, she was a little surprised. After all, an underage lady had arrived for the tea party, and what's more, there were even small children present among them. It was as if whoever selected the guests for the tea party had done so deliberately and wanted to show her what her level really was. The young ladies stood silently, their faces expressing awkwardness, one after another, having tasted only tea. But on that very day, a gala ball was held at the Duke of Eris's estate, even though it was a spontaneously organized ball just 4 days before. However, all the noble ladies of the capital were present at Nishiana's party, and the Empress had no one to blame, and she also thought about who she could complain to. But that was only the beginning. A little while later, one of the guys approached Her Majesty and apologized. Well, he claimed that he wanted the lady to stop sponsoring him. The woman then asked what he was talking about, but the guy screamed that if he accepted help from her, he would never be given the role. Emperor Nishian's younger sister has concentrated power over secular society in her hands. Her influence was incredibly powerful, and people who accepted the support of the Empress could not get roles on the stage. All the noble ladies turned away from the Empress's favorite couturiers, so the woman wondered if she had said or done something wrong. And also, was it all because she was from an impoverished family, of a minor nobleman? The girl also understood that she could not understand what made her hate. No matter how hard she tried to understand and find an answer, she was unable to do so, and the Empress was finally ousted from high aristocratic society. She became a lonely, sullen scarecrow, and her safe haven was the Empress's palace, and only there could she breathe a sigh of relief. Now the main character runs up to Her Majesty and says that she has finally woken up. The woman then puts her hand on her head and asks what happened with the ball. The main character replies that he had to interrupt because the lady lost consciousness, but she claims that she was too arrogant and never had the strength to resist Nishiana Eris. The main character then says that, so that's it. The Duchess showed up today to ruin Her Majesty's evening. The woman replies that she doesn't know why she's telling all this to the maid, and that this woman has simply been absent from the capital for a long time, so she naively believed that everything would be fine, even if she suddenly decided to return. But in the end, everything turned out this way, and she allowed herself a lot of things lately. Paresa tells the lady that this is not so. She also understands that when Her Majesty fainted, she again lost control of herself, and it was an uncontrollable impulse. So now the main character tells Her Majesty that she is free to do whatever she wants, and no one will dare to reproach her for it. When the girl recently lost control of her power, the abilities inside her whispered that the Empress was the very person she had been looking for so long. And the main character now kneels and addresses Her Majesty. The girl claims that she takes an oath and will sometimes be her sword and sometimes her shield, and also swears to protect Her Majesty from all who intimidate her. The woman is then a little surprised and asks why Parisa does this, after which the girl claims that she is very sorry, but she will not be able to explain now. However, when the time comes, she will definitely tell her everything. Well, she can promise the lady that she will be her reliable ally from now on, until she fulfills her destiny, after which the girl kisses the hand of her mistress. And he swears that he will devote himself entirely to her. The Duchess is still at the ball at this time. But then the prince turns to her and tells his aunt that everyone else is gradually leaving and that she should also return home. The woman claims that she is pleased when they take such good care of her, and the prince, at this time, claims that his mother has gone to rest a little, so he wishes everyone a good journey. The countess then says that they will do the same, and says goodbye to Lady Erisy. The guy then says that nothing has changed, and his aunt looks happy. The woman claims that she has no idea what he is talking about, after which she says that perhaps it is time for her to take her leave, and also wishes good night to the prince. The guy remains silent after this, and understands that he needs to learn more about the power of the kingdom of Dunamis. At this time, the Empress tells Paris that in order to break the promise on which her safety directly depends, a compelling reason must be found. At this time, the guy thinks how unfortunate it is that they couldn't even really be alone together. The waters of the Sea of Aegis wash 3 states, and at the end of the divine era, the sea god Aegis, having split the earth into pieces, and having spent his last strength, he filled the sea which exists to this day, and the divine blessing bestowed upon them was divided into 3 components, which are now passed down from generation to generation in each of the 3 coastal states. Among them was a component that endowed the bearers with the magical power of attributes. This mighty power was the foundation of the Lanas Empire and is only granted to the direct heir to the throne. The component that allows the use of the power of mysterious spirits extended the kingdom of Olagot. Unlike the Lantias, each member of the royal family has their own unique personally granted ability. And finally, the kingdom of Dunamis, where people have a special legend about the foundation. The bearers of the blessing in this country are different from the people who lead the neighboring countries. They managed to suppress their enemies thanks to their physical strength and willpower because they fought bravely on the battlefield until the end and managed to obtain a blessing. Ultimately, this blessing turned into a power that was bestowed upon people regardless of their origin. The bearers of the aura have special obligations, and this is called destiny. Now the main character understands that she cannot sleep, and this is what it means to follow duty. Although she received a blessing for a long time, she could not figure out what her purpose was. Well, now she knows that the path she must follow has been found. First, she needs to focus on protecting the Empress, and then step by step she will definitely fulfill her duty. At this time, the Duchess burns the letter, and also tells Baron Cowell that they have not seen each other for a long time. The man then asks if everything is okay with the lady, and thanks her for the invitation, because he is so glad that she has not forgotten about him. The Duchess suggests skipping formalities, and asks how things are going with her assignment. The Baron claims that the lady has nothing to worry about, because everything is exactly as they planned. After which, the woman says that she has serious expectations on this matter, and then she proposes, "Check how long this maid can last." The next morning, the main character wakes up and realizes that her body feels lighter than usual. The girl also thinks whether it is time to start work, after which she leaves her room. There she meets Marie and greets her, but the maid just ignores the girl. She then turns to another maid and says that even though they were given the day off after the ball, it is still hard without a vacation. And they of course received bonuses, but they would still like to rest a little longer, to which she replies that she completely agrees. The main character wonders if the girl didn't hear her. She understands that they definitely met each other's eyes. Then, the girl sees several more maids coming out of their room. The main character addresses them, and the lady with red hair is about to answer. But her friend immediately hits her with her hand, and also claims that they were supposed to be preparing to receive guests in the morning. So they need to go quickly, otherwise they will be scolded to the fullest. The main character is left alone after this, and the maid, moving on, asks her colleague if she saw the stupid face of this girl, and she brought this attitude upon herself because she swears that this girl didn't even understand what she had done. At this time, Parisa is thinking about what they were told, that the negative consequences even extended to her. And Marie understands that she regrets, but she can't do anything because Parisa herself chose this path. At this time, the main character is thinking, what kind of a bunch of fools is this, because they can't scare her with such tricks. A long time ago, 2 girls stood in front of a bird's grave. One of them said that the bird had fallen into eternal sleep. Before this, the cat grabbed the bird, and one of the girls tried to save it. She also claimed that she had so much hope that the bird would survive if she treated it. But she stopped eating and drinking, and also fell into eternal sleep. Her friend then took the girl by the hand, and she claimed that she did everything possible, so she thinks that the bird was very happy until its last breath. So don't let Levia cry. Nishia Eris is the emperor's younger sister and the princess of the Lanas Empire. For the first time in several generations, a long-awaited girl was born into the imperial family, and she always received endless amounts of love from her brother and father. As for marriage, Duke Eris was her conscious choice, and they have a son who will become a worthy successor in the future. The main character then says that it's incredible, because she's just a perfect fly, as if she stepped out of a painting. The Empress replies that it is precisely impossible to understand what she is planning just by looking at the beautiful wrapper, because she is doing everything to make her completely lose her mind. The lady with pink hair claims that aristocrats all move in the same social circles and that they are all rotten to the core. Parisa asks if the lady says that since that tea party, there has not been a day when she has not tried to cause her problems, and she thinks that then the Empress created a furor in high society. The lady with pink hair then asks if everything was so good that she got rid of 22 personal maids. Each of them eventually became Nishiana's accomplice, and they watched with anticipation, trying to seize the moment for humiliation, and therefore she could not find herself a personal servant. Parisa says that it is clear, after which the lady with pink hair looks at her, and the girl immediately gets down on her knees and also claims that she will do everything in her power. The Empress then tells her to understand the head. She also remembers how she said that they sent their minion there again, and how many maids she has kicked out of there. You can't even count them on your fingers. After which the Empress also turns to Parisa and asks if she is on her side. The main character replies that of course, Her Majesty asks if the girl understands that during all this time, not many people have stood on her side, and none of them tolerated Nishiana's manipulations because they all simply ran away. That's why she really hopes that Parisa won't do that, because she wants the girl to teach hers, because now she's going to confront Nishiana, and she's wondering what she can do to protect Parisa. The main character understands that after it became clear what her purpose is, she realized something. Even if there is no sword in her hands, she is ready to fight in the name of duty at any moment. The emergence of a direct threat to the well-being of Her Majesty allowed her to realize this, and now this is her whole life. But the girl thinks that she is still a little awkward, because surely Her Majesty does not share her feelings, after which the main character says that, then first of all, it would be necessary to contact His Highness, because they need to meet and talk. The Empress then screams out, "Who needs it?" And the main character asks if it turns out that she can take her ball because she could do it. A little while later, the prince asks his mother how she feels, and answers that she will go, and she has no difficulty moving. The guy then says that it seems that his mother has come to visit him for the first time, and she can't even imagine how happy he is, after which the guy also asks what she wanted to talk to him about. The woman then starts to say something, but the main character claims that she will tell everything, but first asks the lady to leave the room. The prince then says that he will do as the girl tells her, and shows the maid to leave. He also turns to his personal maid and says that he also has something to tell her. The guy wonders why she broke the promise she made to him, and whether his mother already knows. Parisa claims that this is what she was going to talk to him about during yesterday's ball. She swore allegiance and gave the knight's oath to Her Majesty. The guy is a little surprised by this, and the main character wonders if he will guess, and she goes out herself, thus confirming that she is a knight of Bologna. So the girl wonders if it's too early, but the guy then asks why she took the knight's oath. The girl replies that of course it is for the sake of opposing anyone who dares to threaten the safety and well-being of Her Majesty. Even if that person turns out to be His Highness the Empress, then asks in shock what Parisa is saying, and the main character then asks whose side the prince is on. The guy is silent for a while after that, and then he smirks. And the next second, the main character already sees him laughing out loud. The girl wonders what made him laugh so much. At this time, the Empress thinks that it was high time for her to come to her senses, and that her servant sometimes behaves too impudently. The prince at this time claims that it was rude and asks if she is on whose side he is. The Empress then says that this is what she is talking about, and he is a damn shady guy. The mountain to bare his teeth so much, and this is a clear evidence of hidden intentions, by the way. And what the hell is on his mind? The guy then says that there is nothing that can be done about it, since he is only the crown prince. The Empress then asks who he is, if not the crown prince and the main character, then claims that this guy wants to say that the crown prince is forced to follow the will of the emperor, to which he replies that this is true. The Empress then rises from her seat and says that it is time for them to go, which surprises the main character. But the prince then asks the Empress if he can borrow her personal servant for a while, so that they can chat there, and he will immediately return her. To which the woman replies that he should do whatever he wants, after which she slams the door on him. At this time, the prince tells the girl to sit down because they have something to discuss. But Parisa says that it is not proper for servants to sit in the presence of the prince. The guy replies that the prince doesn't mind, or maybe she prefers to look down on her interlocutor. The young lady immediately sits down and states that she will sit down, and therefore asks him not to say so. The prince then says that it is good, and they can get straight to business. The girl mentioned the oath of knightly loyalty, but something tells him that this is not all. And she has learned what her purpose is, and now she fulfills it as a knight. Paresa says that he was right on target, and how smart he is. The guy claims that everything is quite logical, and it would be strange not to guess. Well, even so, no one could suspect her of this. One good prince hid her aura with his energy, although she certainly pulled off quite a show. The girl then thanks him, after which the prince claims that considering that she is in his debt, and she does not want the emperor to find out about her secret, because he believes that this would complicate everything. Parisa claims that of course she doesn't want this, but she wonders how he knew that she did it because of her destiny, because it's a completely different special aura, and it's difficult to simply feel it. The guy replies that he didn't know, even though he made a premature conclusion. But the blessing in dunamis is an exceptional thing, and the purpose is also a kind of phenomenon. People who have acquired power usually use it for the benefit of the kingdom. And although she received the status of a knight, she eventually fled from her homeland. And he thought that her mission, or in other words, her duty, must be somehow special. And he would say atypical. The main character claims that to her surprise, His Highness was extremely frank for the first time. To which the guy replies that, frankly speaking, he intends to build a trusting relationship. And although he acted in accordance with the imperial will, he and his father still thought completely differently. The main character then asks for forgiveness for her insolence, but she simply cannot help but ask, does this mean that His Majesty is not completely honest with the Empress? The guy claims that of course the father knows about the conflict between his mother and aunt. And besides, he thinks that his mother also guesses about this, which is why she was upset not so long ago. After all, she says that in this, he is similar to his father, after which the main character asks if he really knows about everything. But the guy interrupts her and claims that he simply understands that he is claiming the position of emperor, and instead of taking sides in the conflict, he should try to resolve it. The guy also asks the girl why she thinks her aunt left the capital for 2 years, and she hardly traveled. Perhaps the matter is about the father's order, given for the benefit of the mother, and the main character asks if it works. That all this time he was justifying himself by fulfilling his duty, and what is this then, if not avoiding the problem? The prince claims that such statements could lead to problems for Parisa, but the main character claims that she has not taken an oath of allegiance to the imperial family, and serves only Her Majesty the Empress. She suffered for 10 years, and the last 2 years were no exception. His Highness knew about this, and even in the absence of the Duchess, those who were subject to her influence, they looked down on Her Majesty, humiliated her, and spread dirty rumors about her. The guy claims that he is aware of this, because Her Majesty has complained about such treatment more than once. But the Emperor only replied that Nishana would not have done so intentionally, and he was sure of it. After all, there will definitely be a reason for this, and he promised that he would talk to her, after which he asked her not to be offended. And the main character claims that the worst thing is that Her Majesty feels guilty before both of them. Therefore, no excuses work there, and he and His Majesty were negligent. The guy then says that let it be so, and they ignore the problems. But her idealized picture in her head and what is actually happening are two different things. His Majesty warned the aristocracy many times, and they tried in every way to prevent ridicule, and also made sure that it did not dry up the line, because he personally did this. So doesn't the lady think that he knows more about their behavior than she does? Parisa argues that it is not surprising that she does not know anything, and is this even a problem? But the main character then asks if Her Majesty knows what the two of them are doing. After all, she is suffering more than they think, and she is not going to ignore it. Perhaps it was noble of His Majesty to remain neutral, but it is not in her nature to watch someone suffering indifferently, so she will still repeat herself and ask him again. The girl wonders whose side His Highness is on, and he is for the Empress or the Duchess. The guy understands that for some reason he cannot lie looking into these eyes, and also suggests doing this. Previously, he talked about a trusting relationship, and if the girl wants him to be frank again, and he revealed his position, then let her fulfill 2 conditions. The first is to return the debt during the imperial ball. The main character thinks how petty he is, and the prince claims that it is the latter. This is that she will not refuse his offers to meet 3 days later. Someone says that he is glad to welcome Her Majesty. The Empress then asks who it is that has arrived, and whether it is really Countess Bush. To which the woman smiles and asks if the lady slept well that night, since it is a great honor for her to see the Empress again. A little while ago, the main character asked if the lady had forgotten about the Countess's visit, and if it was time for them to get ready, little by little. But the woman screamed, "What was she talking about? She had refused." Parisa said that if she continued to avoid those around her, it would not become easier for her. And even though the Duchess surrounded herself with a crowd of her henchmen, not all the aristocrats took her side. Therefore, Her Majesty also needs to make sure that people are drawn to her, and first she should gain the favor of those like the Countess, because she cannot reject those who clearly treat her well. The woman was silent for a while after this, and understood that she herself did not want to reject them. She also remembers the faces of everyone who was kind to her and really wants to improve relationships with them. The Countess at this time claims that she could not afford to come empty-handed. So she has a gift, and she personally made this flower arrangement for her. The Empress then says how beautiful this is. However, she suggests leaving the gifts for later, and also going inside quickly, because she invites them all for a cup of tea. A little while later, the main character is already pouring tea, and the Countess claims that, frankly, speaking from their very first meeting, she was enchanted by Her Majesty. She had never experienced anything like this, even with her husband. The lady with pink hair then says that she couldn't even imagine that a lady could have such an opinion about her, and if she doesn't mind, she would like to see her more often. The woman also says that she must take responsibility for what she has done. The Countess then tells Her Majesty that she would be happy, and at this time, Parisa hears someone approaching and addressing Her Majesty as well as the Countess, after which he dares to suggest moving to another room. At that moment, the prince comes in and says that you can go crazy like that. And she is perhaps the only servant in the world who reacts in this way to the crown prince. The Countess then asks what the prince is saying and let him pass quickly. A little while later, they are already in the drawing room looking at the production. The Empress was surprised to see this, and the Countess asked her to forgive her, and then she had to ask His Highness for advice. He said that the lady loved to draw, and it so happened that she did too. The Countess claims that she persuaded him to help with the preparations because she really wanted to draw with the Empress. The Countess also asks how she feels about this, and it seems she liked their surprise because if so, then she is very happy. The Empress replies that the lady is right, because she is delighted, and it is truly a wonderful gift. The main character at this time pulls out a chair for Her Majesty and asks her to sit down. The girl watches as His Majesty puts on his cape and wonders if he is also going to draw, to which the guy replies that he does. After all, since everyone has gathered, he cannot stay away. Well, let the girl not be surprised when she sees... The main character then wonders if he can draw well. A little while later, the Empress is already accompanying the Countess. She also says that she is immensely grateful to her for today's visit. But the Countess asks why this Empress, since it is she who should thank her for such a warm welcome. The lady with pink hair says that, although it is small, she also prepared a gift for her, and she will be very happy if the Countess likes it, because this is her favorite flower tea. And she also asks the Countess that the next time she visits her, she should feel at home. The lady with green hair then smiles and agrees, and the main character is at His Highness's side at this time. The guy at this time asks her if she thinks this is too much and that she should stop, but the girl then falls to her knees. And also looking at what His Highness drew, he claims that she can't hold back because she finds it so funny that her stomach hurts. And this is truly amazing. The prince then claims that his skills are at an incredibly high level, and he wonders if this is not so, after which the main character looks at the drawing of the Empress, and also on what the Countess drew and claims that it is not at all. At this time, the Empress enters the room, and he wonders what they are both shouting about again. And the girl even got down on her knees. Parisa replies that they did nothing special, and to tell the truth, she expected a little more from His Highness's drawing skills. Well, the woman just tells them to immediately answer what the two of them talked about after she left a couple of days ago. Parisa wants to say what they were discussing about His Majesty's legs, interrupting the girl, and he claims that Countess Bush has become their ally at the right time, because she is capable and definitely trustworthy, so he has been keeping an eye on her for a long time. The Countess got married early, so she has been in high society for a long time. Thanks to her position, even her aunt's influence does not extend to her. The Empress claims that this is, of course, good for her, but the prince has never shown that he supports her. And is he sure that everything will be okay if he so openly takes her side, rejecting Nishiana? And what about their neutrality? After this, the guy tells the Empress that her close servant is very faithful to her, and her words touched him and also made him rethink his point of view, so he hopes that his mother will be able to forgive him for his past indifference. The Empress is surprised by this, and the main character claims that the beginning has already been made. Countess Boucher had already taken her side, and besides Her Majesty had certainly brought the attention of noble ladies to the Clayt, who are not recognized as Nishiana's favorites, and although they are all firmly connected, they are subject to a strict hierarchy. It is incredibly difficult for a lady of lower birth and a newcomer to adapt to such a society. Well, the Empress then says that it is obvious that everyone is frightened by unfair treatment, which Nishiana will reward them in full for the choice made in her favor, because not everyone is as brave as Parisa. The main character answers Her Majesty that she knows very well how much she cares about people, and the prince claims that this is one of the reasons why Parisa turned to him for help, and let the lady be sure that he is able to provide his people with proper protection. And the lady didn't forget that the emperor's birthday was coming up very soon. The duchess, at this time, heads to the cemetery with a bouquet of flowers. She lays the flowers at one of the graves, after which she tells Levia that she has come, and just think how much water has already flowed under the bridge. Any state celebrates the monarch's birthday with special pomp, and Lantayas, where the emperor is revered as a god, is no exception. There the emperor's birthday is much more large-scale. Aristocrats from all over the empire flock to the capital for a gala ball in order to have an audience with the emperor. And even in the presence of the Duchess of Eris, despite her impeccable reputation as the emperor's spouse, that is, the Empress, must shine brighter than anyone else. The prince claims that even the aristocrats from the top of secular society are obliged to express their hypocritical respect to her on this day, and no one would risk openly expressing their worthless position in such a situation. At this time, the Empress wonders what she should do then, and the prince asserts that his mother is free to do whatever she wants. After all, she is an empress and can afford it. Many noble families will take part in the event, many of whom are from the provinces, and she will have a wonderful chance to show them all her nobility. Well, after this, the Empress asks if she can handle this, to which the prince replies that she has nothing to fear now. After all, he had already said that he would help her, and the lady only had to trust him. That same evening, the woman comes into her room and says that she has a headache, after which she also asks what Parisa thinks about what the crown prince said. The main character replies that it seems that His Highness is not one of those who would lie about such things, and that he might actually be able to help them. The lady with pink hair claims that the prince is indeed a smart guy, and she thinks that he has a lot of ideas, but she still can't figure out why he decided to take her side. But then the woman says that if you think about it, it wasn't long ago that they talked to him alone, after which she asks what the prince said to Parisa. The main character remembers how he told Parisa not to refuse his offers to meet, and the girl claims that he asked not to refuse if he gives her an assignment one day. The Empress then screams in, wondering whether he knows whose servant she is or why she even agreed to something like that. Parisa replies that of course she set the conditions, and that is not to ask for anything that could in any way harm the lady, and perhaps he wants a reliable person to be next to hers. The Empress then says that, okay, let's forget about it, because even if he had planned something, she still wouldn't be informed. At this time, the knight turns to His Highness and asks if he can find out what he was thinking then. After all, he had not planned to interfere before. The prince then asks if he is talking about the conflict between his mother and aunt, and also wonders if the knight is worried about him and thinks that he can't cope with it. His interlocutor answers that in principle, this is the heir to the throne, and no one will dare to threaten him. Well, he asked purely out of curiosity. However, he claimed that this was the will of His Majesty, and therefore did not fit in with the Empress and Duchess. He is interested in the reason why he broke this unspoken rule. Well, the prince claims that he simply could not resist. She said that she and her father had been careless up until now, and he had failed to refute it. And also, this girl looked at him with her clear blue eyes, and the expression on her face, as well as the eyes that he saw then. It is impossible to understand unless you have seen it with your own eyes. He was drowning in them, and so deeply, that for a moment he was speechless. The knight at this time thinks that his highness is hopeless, and the prince claims that this is how it all happened, so he tells Claude that he is going to entrust him with one very important task. At the ball, in honor of the emperor's birthday, let him carefully watch that not a single garbage bag of parasoc dares to touch his ugly head with his dirty hands, and if necessary, let him accompany her. And just in case, he warns the guy in advance so that he doesn't even think about flirting with her. The knight then screams out why he would do this, and also says that since His Majesty entrusted everything to him, what is he going to do himself then? To which he replies that he plans to be absent that day. The main character at this time enters her room and sees a mess there. She sighs and realizes that even a locked door won't stop them. The girl notices that nothing is missing and wonders why they did it at all. Well, then she understands that she can't rely only on her feelings, because an ordinary person wouldn't be able to tolerate such an attitude. First, they completely isolated her from society, and now they have made it clear that her life is at risk at any moment. And the girl understands that they actually challenged her, and she has no reason to tolerate this. Well, then, someone else turns to Parisa. It turns out to be Marie, after which the main character says that they collectively decided to ignore her, and he asks why the girl came now and answers that she doesn't have time for idle chatter, and she'll get straight to the point. Parisa understands why everything turned out the way it did, and before it's too late, she asks her to stop being stubborn and to tell her that she made a mistake out of ignorance, and then perhaps she will spare her. But the main character puts her hand on Marie's shoulder, and she apologizes, but claims that she has not made any mistakes. Her interlocutor claims that she is not joking, because she is wrong to think that Her Majesty will be able to protect her. But Parisa argues that the girl should have been more careful with her words, because she serves in the Empress's palace after all, and let her think at her leisure about which of them made the wrong choice. Marie then pushes the young lady's hand away and cries out that it was stupid of her to try to help her. And now let Parisa take care of herself, and also know that even if she later regrets what she did, it will be too late. The main character then asks to allow Marie to clarify things, no matter how much time has passed. It is important to realize your mistakes, and if the girl ever changes her mind, she will wait for her at any time. After this, Marie just remains silent, and then snorts. You understand that Paris did not listen. The girl also thinks that there is about a month left until the Emperor's birthday. The next day, the Empress greets Duchess Boucher and asks if this is the lady she mentioned. The woman replies that it is Countess Hartley, who has been her dear friend since her youth. The girl then greets Her Majesty. The Empress smiles and also claims that there is no need to be so nervous, because she just wants to make friends with them, and she has no one to drink tea with. The Countess asks if this is really so, and claims that, to be honest, she is a little embarrassed, because she never expected that in Her Majesty's life she would be so beautiful. The main character smiles after this, and understands that Countess Bush had pleasantly surprised them. From that very tea party, the Countess began inviting provincial aristocrats to the palace, and over time, they were all introduced to Her Majesty. Miraculously, the Countess managed to maintain a relaxed atmosphere, and besides, she managed to grasp the trends maturing in the new team, and formed a circle of common interests. In this regard, the problem concerning Her Majesty's influence was left aside. The lady was excited by the sudden opportunity to enjoy cultured society, so the positive experience kept accumulating and accumulating. In the end, it helped the depressed Empress feel human again. New friends reminded Her Majesty that she has something to respect herself for. Their main character understands that the appearance of the Duchess of Arras has had a negative impact on her well-being, so now she is glad that everything is getting better. At this time, someone else turns to Parisa. It turns out it's His Highness, and the guys claim that he needs to talk to her, so let the girl stay a little while. The main character, looking at his drawing, almost falls over, laughing again, and the guy says that once she figures it out, she should come back and jump over to him for a minute. After all, there is something he would like to share with her personally. The main character is then a little surprised and realizes that there are 21 days left until the Emperor's birthday. The maids whisper among themselves, and one of them asks the girl if she has heard that Her Majesty is friends with provincial aristocrats. But this does not mean that she has acquired reliable connections. At this time, another maid screams, "Don't they have anything better to do?" And the girls get a little scared. At this point, the lady with red hair suggests that her colleague simply pass by, but he replies that no, they are standing there and wagging their tongues, so we can't let it go unnoticed. It would be better for them not to open their mouths in vain. After this, there are 16 days left until the emperor's birthday. His Highness's aunt enters the room, after which he tells his sweet nephew that he wanted to see her and is not interested in why he needed her. The guy then wonders what this pretense is for, because she knows better than most that fawning will not shake his neutrality. However, he wanted to meet her because he has something to offer. Therefore, the last one sent wants advice she must already guess what we are going to talk about. The blue full moon rises for the second time this month, and it is the mirror of Aegis. A little while later, there are 3 days left until the emperor's birthday, and the main character turns to Her Majesty and also claims that she already has a dress that she bought with her vacation money, and does she really need a new one? Well, the woman claims that at the imperial ball, everyone present must maintain the bar, and she is her personal servant, so more than anyone else, she is obliged to worry about her appearance. The main character realizes that she doesn't like the balayu, and finally the emperor's birthday has arrived. The aristocrats approach His Majesty and ask him to accept their congratulations. The man then says that may their families be blessed. The other aristocrats are then a little embarrassed at the sight of Her Majesty the Empress. One of them claims that today is the first time he sees her, and she is truly amazing. Another girl asks if the gentleman thinks so too, because her beauty truly amazes the imagination. Someone else asks if they say that this is the first reception, and it is worth saying that every time the Empress behaves very kindly. However, then one of the aristocrats claims that, however, there are unflattering rumors circulating about Her Majesty. And are they really true? After all, they say that she is extremely cruel, stupid, and arrogant, and also a villain who tortures her charges. Just give her a reason, and she'll get rid of them. Well, then one of them claims that he sees a beautiful and sweet lady there. So isn't the refutation of these ridiculous tales right before their eyes? Well then, another lady says that we shouldn't forget that she has been married to the emperor for 10 years in a row. And if she had been declared a villain, they would have lived together for so many years. At this time, someone else announces that the gala ball, in honor of His Majesty the Emperor's birthday, is declared open. First of all, there will be a special ceremony of appointment and presentation of the best knights for awards. The Emperor at this time turns to his wife and states that he has appointed new knights to the Empress's palace, and all of them are recommended by the Crown Prince because he personally controls the knights, so they are definitely trustworthy. The Empress understands that it is the Crown Prince again, after which she says that's it. And the man also claims that since they are spouses, today is a significant day in its own way, and that is why he asks her to accept this as a gift. The Empress then thanks His Majesty for his concern and states that she is very glad. After this, one of the knights approaches Her Majesty, and the Emperor states that from now on, he serves in the Empress's palace. There in front of everyone present, let him solemnly swear that until the end of his days, he will be devoted only to the Empress. Her Majesty then tells him to raise his head, after which the guy looks at the Empress, and he is shocked by how beautiful she is, after which the guy takes the lady's hand, and he tells Her Majesty that he swears his fidelity to her with all sincerity. The main character claps at this time and understands that this is to be expected, because it is impossible to simply take and ignore Her Majesty's. Their first meeting took her breath away, because her appearance alone is her undoubted weapon, and the beauty of her mistress is unthinkable because she evokes fear and awe. That is why she so stubbornly hindered the social activity of the Empress, and in the end, it was carefully planned. But today is a completely different story. A little while later, the main character is already heading towards Her Majesty and suggests that she go quickly. After all, the sooner everything is ready, the more time will be left for Togo to catch his breath. Well, the Empress is wondering if everything will be okay, because she only needs to see Nishiana during the ball, and she feels bad, and the woman is wondering what if she loses consciousness again, from excitement. After all, this is such an important event, but the main character tells the lady not to worry, because the Duchess won't come to it, that's for sure. The prince at this time suggests that his aunt go. It's high time to meet with Mother. At this time, the Empress asks if the Duchess won't come to the ball, after which he asks if the girl could have said this earlier. But the main character replies that she was afraid that the lady would relax too much then. She also asks for forgiveness, But the deed is done, so today, she will be able to deservedly enjoy the ball as an empress, and the girl also suggests not to let His Highness's hard work be in vain. The lady with pink hair only snorts after this and says that she wonders why the crown prince is hiding so diligently and what he is trying to achieve. Isn't he pursuing his own personal goals? And she doesn't like all of this. Paresa tells the Empress that it seems that this time he did not deserve such disparaging comments because the crown prince resorted to his powers for her sake. At this time, the woman turns to Paresa and then screams out what she actually forgot there. After all, isn't she going to the ball today, and what is she doing instead of preparing? So let her immediately take her feet and quickly go get dressed. The prince at this time goes with his aunt to the cemetery, which he asserts more than anything else. They are united by their love for Lavia, and after that, she asks if the guy thinks the same. The prince replies that it is so. Lavia is the previous empress of the Lanas Empire. She was also the crown prince's biological mother, and was also a longtime friend of Nishiana Lantias. In the year when the crown prince turned 6 years old, the empress suffered an unfortunate fate and left this world. The crown prince remembered well that terrible time, and after being plunged into the eternal sleep of Lavia, Nishiana became much more irritable. In one of them, a woman screamed that he knew what to take, and it was all because of him. After some time, she seemed to return to her previous state. However, the black darkness continued to grow inside her, and Nishiana could not accept the immersion into the eternal sleep of Lantia. And also, the denial turned into a terrible obsession. Now the prince looks at the moon, and he understands that this is the mirror of Aegis, who appears together with the fire demon during the second full moon of the month. The guy at this time tells the ant to step back. At night, when the full moon is white high in the sky, the influence of the sea god is greatly enhanced. Therefore, the prince proposed to his aunt the resurrection of Lavia Lantias. He is the most powerful mage in the history of the empire, and also a person who wields the fertile magic of the earth, attribute that gives life. The crown prince is also the biological son of Lavia Lantias, who is capable of performing unimaginable miracles with his own hands. At this time, the aunt wants to hug her sister, but when she does so, she becomes distracted. The prince falls to the floor at this time, on the birthday of the Emperor Lantias, who was revered as a demigod, whose power and strength were hidden in the solemn atmosphere of the holiday. The Empress was finally able to enjoy what was rightfully hers for the first time in 10 years. On that magical night, festive lights colored the sky above the capital. However, there was something that they all conveniently forgot about, and it's past midnight. So today is the day when one woman left this world forever, and someone never forgot about her for a moment. A little while later, the prince is already returning back, and the knight immediately runs up to him, and he asks where the Duchess of Eris is. The guy replies that she should have returned already, and tried not to show it, but she is probably very depressed. The knight at this time wants to say something about the Duchess, but the prince tells him to stop. After all, he also spent a lot of energy and feels lousy, so he suggests going back. The boy also remembers how 17 years ago, when he was 5 years old, his mother approached him. She also told the guy to come to her because she wanted to hug him, to which he agreed. And the woman said that he would definitely become a wonderful ruler, and asked how he felt, and whether he had any injuries, to which he replied that he did not. Lavia also asked the guy if he was upset about Togo, because she couldn't be around lately. To which he replied that his mother had told him everything 2 years ago, and he was already an adult and understood everything. Now the boy is in the carriage and says the word mother. The knight asks His Highness what happened, to which he replies that nothing, he just remembered something, although he certainly should have concentrated on pressing matters. The knight then asks if the conflict between his aunt and mother has worsened, and the guy claims that his mother declared war, after which he also thinks about how long they can hold out. And the knight at this time wonders whether His Majesty has not undertaken to help them, to which he replies that he is doing what he thinks is necessary and is not sure whether it will actually help them. A little while later, someone tells His Highness that he was holding on to the Duchess of Eris, to which he replies that he did, but it's personal, so he can't afford unnecessary details. The guy also asks how the girl is doing, and apparently the ball ended well. Parisa replies that yes, and Her Majesty enjoyed it too. Unfortunately, they did encounter some difficulties, and this morning an endless stream of letters poured into the palace, every single one of them from aristocrats who were close to Her Majesty. They wrote about problems on the estate's territory, fires, robberies, etc. In the end, all this offended the Empress to postpone all social events for a while. At this time, the Empress is angry and screams that this is again the machinations of Nishiana. She wondered why she had become so quiet, and whether she was really not tired of it. However, before she had only mocked her, but now he stretches his nasty little hands to her closest circle. The main character understands that the last few days have been especially calm. True, she calmed down for a short time, and now she has started to act so. The girl is wondering what the Duchess is trying to achieve. A little while later, one of the maids asks if this could be somehow connected to the anniversary of the previous Empress's entry into eternal sleep. The main character wonders what she is talking about, and the maid claims that it is because no public holidays are scheduled before or after the Emperor's birthday. It so happened that the Empress fell into eternal sleep on the eve of the Emperor's birthday, and she remembers that before they celebrated the whole week, but now the holidays were moved 6 days earlier. And it is not surprising because she heard that there was a special relationship between the Duchess of Arras and the late Empress. This is probably why the Duchess was not particularly active in social circles during this period. At this time, the main character thinks about the late Empress and thinks that she is the Crown Prince's biological mother. There are a lot of thoughts going through her head right now, but she doesn't think she should jump to any conclusions. At this time, the guy asks what their next plan is, and the girl replies that there is no clear plan right now. After all, Her Majesty also needs time to catch her breath. And, besides, why didn't the dress she ordered for the walks arrive? And therefore she was ordered to visit Viscountess Venus in the afternoon. At this time, the guy says that she has too many worries for a personal servant. The girl then sighs and says that since he knows that she is busy, then why did he call her? To which he replies that he did it just because he missed her. A little while later, the girl is already heading in a carriage. She sighs and realizes that the Crown Prince has been acting very strange lately. And just like that, whenever he feels like it, he calls a person to chat about nothing. Parisa understands that she will never believe that people are talking about missing and waiting at a business meeting. And the girl thinks that it is incredible to think that the Crown Prince could be preoccupied. But behind every skirt, there is an unfortunate Don Juan. A significant part of her life, Parisa is listed to knights, and to them, fortunately, in love, she does not understand at all. The guy at this time says how he already itches and who is scolding him like that. A little while later, the girl gets out of the carriage and thanks the coachman for taking her, after which she invites him to drive on. The girl also understands that the Viscountess's studio must be somewhere there. Well, then she sees a crowd of people. The main character thinks that there is a studio in that direction, after which she asks for forgiveness and asks to be allowed to pass. But when the girl comes closer, she sees that the Viscountess is fainting. Parisa immediately asks what happened. The worker claims that it looks like thieves broke into the store last night, and this happened after she arrived at work. Fortunately, the cash register was not touched, but all the dresses were ruined. The Viscountess was shocked and lost consciousness. The main character understands from this face alone that it is clear even without investigation, and this is the kind of treatment that comes to those who treat Her Majesty well. After which, the girl claims that the Viscountess must first be taken inside and asks to disperse the crowd that has run up, to which the worker agrees. 2 hours later, the Viscountess comes to her senses, after which she thanks Parisa and also asks for forgiveness for the promised dress. The main character interrupts the woman and says that there is nothing to be done, and it is not scary because she is sure that Her Majesty will understand. Parisa also asks if they have any ideas who the criminal might be, because they won't sit idly by. So let the Viscountess trust them, because they will make every effort. To restore her peace of mind, the woman thanks the protagonist and asks them to take care of her. A little while later, the main character leaves the studio and thinks about what to do with it. After all, now things haven't worked out with the dress yet, so what should Her Majesty do now? The girl didn't think that so much would fall on her at once, because until now the Empress had not had many friends, and the new clothes that were supposed to lift her spirits are now ruined. The girl thinks that this will not work, and in this case, she will entertain her herself, be it a prank foolishness or a trick, after which the main character asks to stop the carriage. Well, when the carriage stops, The girl says that she needs to go to the Empress's palace and asks to go faster if possible. However, at that very moment, someone comes out of the carriage and grabs the girl by the hand. Parisa understands that, of course. After all, she is the person closest to the Empress and to everything else. The Duchess is not conniving, and she can also be a target, after which the girl grabs this guy by the hand, and he knocks it over. The driver then also swings at the girl. People on the streets ask what is going on and whether a fight has really started, after which someone even says to call security, and the girl understands that there are too many extra eyes there, so she cannot use force. Well, then she protects herself with her hand, and red liquid immediately starts flowing out of it. The coachman then drops the whip and screams that he only wanted to scare them. At this time, the guys lying on the floor begin to come to their senses, and one of them screams, "What are these pathetic cowards doing? Let them quickly grab this girl." However, at that very moment, the main character steps on his foot, causing him to fall and writhe in pain. Another mercenary immediately runs up to the girl and is about to strike, but the main character dodges him, after which she claims that she asks once, and also wonders who hired them. And also, what do they know about her? The guy with red hair? At this time thinks, who is this girl? Because she didn't even blink an eye. He also screams, does this idiot really think that he came to wrestle with her and he will grab her, and that will be the end of it? Well, the main character immediately grabs him by the neck, after which he keeps insisting that she no longer knows who their informant is. However, the fact that he doesn't quite understand the field is unfortunate, as it is an extremely useful skill. The girl also believes that she is expressing herself clearly and claims that they have picked the wrong person. A little while later, the girl is already in front of the prince, and he says that it is clear. And also, after a couple of hours, he again has the honor of seeing her face, but this time as a suspect. One way or another, he instructs the knights to deal with the attempted kidnapping, since violence was used not only by Parisa. Well, after which he also says that everyone is free, and he and Parisa still have something to chat about. When the knights leave, the main character wonders if His Highness has anything to tell her. The guy replies that yes, and this concerns those who attacked her, because instead of plunging all three of them into eternal sleep, she spared them. Parisa argues that of course she couldn't openly injure people in a public place, and besides, they weren't that dangerous. But the guy approaches her and claims that this is not the issue because in the end, she was hurt, and if something like this happens again, she should not remain silent and tell him. After all, he swears that he will get rid of anyone who dared to touch her quietly, and no one will know about it. The main character then turns to His Highness and asks him not to make such terrible promises. After all, how can you squander your strength on such dirty plans? But the guy claims that he can't think about something like that when it comes to her. Parisa says that in fact, everything is fine with her, because the sword's aura also gave her the ability to heal. She didn't talk about it much because she thought that people might find it strange, and she would worry him unnecessarily. The girl also asks for her forgiveness, but claims that Her Majesty is waiting for her. And the prince claims that, by the way, since she started talking about her mother, it's not the right time for them to settle accounts with her. After all, he had provided her with much help, and therefore hoped for a fair reward. Parisa wondered what the prince wanted from her, to which he replies that it's nothing and there's nothing complicated about it, after which he asks if the girl can call him by his name. The main character is surprised by this, and wonders if he really wants her to call him by his name. A little while later, the girl already leaves the room, after which the knight asks if Lady Parisa has already finished. The main character then asks if this is Sir Lauren, and then turns around, and she says that it is time for her to go. The knight at this time turns to His Highness and states that he will come by. The man replies that yes, and Sir Claude Laurent can come in. The guy claims that he has no idea what they were talking about there, but asks him not to take his anger out on him. Well, the prince is just wondering what he did wrong, and he would be so happy if he was called by name. He also says that it would be necessary to order all the maids to memorize the list of names and surnames of the members of the imperial family. Generally speaking, this is the most integral part of the training of any nobleman, and in connection with this, there is no need to teach this to maids of noble origin. However, the knight claims that if Parisa is from another empire, then she may not know this at all, and probably for this reason, she did not fulfill his request, even if she herself was not against it. The prince then says that's it and let him not continue, and also asks what Claude thinks, and also whether she might like him. The knight claims that it depends on what he wants to hear from him, because he serves the prince after all. But he says that the knight should answer honestly, as if he were his friend, after which the guy claims that she looked excited, and he has no doubt that she likes the prince. At the moment, he is clearly not in the kind of relationship in which there is room for unrequited love. He also asks what the prince did to win her favor, to which he replies that he danced with her at the ball. The knight asks if there was anything else, to which the prince replies that there was nothing else in particular. And this is unthinkable, because usually one dance is more than enough for a lady to be imbued with romantic feelings for him. And he knew that you Parisi are something special. At this time, the guy looks at His Highness's legs and thinks that it's a pity he'll have to well anyway, judging by what he saw. Is it really that impossible? The main character is confused at this time and thinks what is wrong with her, because she needs to wake up. A little while later, the guy asks if the aunt is talking about the ball, after which he says that everyone will be happy to come to it, and there is no point in the Duchess asking his advice. The woman claims that the guy is of course right, because he doesn't need advice, but she is obliged to ask, since the ball in his honor will be held soon. And wasn't he looking for a bride for himself? Because she was always thinking about how she could help him, because she was his aunt. This ball is aimed at choosing a spouse and the heir to the throne, as well as other aristocrats who have reached the age suitable for marriage. They give points in order to find a partner, and this is an event that attracts many unmarried ladies and gentlemen from all over the country. There, the luckiest ones sometimes get a unique chance to improve their status. Alas, he doesn't want to put up with Togo at all. Not to mention that recently, such things are not her prerogative at all, and the woman again wants to secretly take over her mother's business. At this time, the Empress plays the piano, and a little while later, she draws everything. The main character understands that the stress level is critical, and is there really no other way? At this time, one of the maids turns to Her Majesty, but she only asks what she wants. The main character claims that she will talk to her and return, after which the maid says something. The main character then turns to Her Majesty and claims that a guest has come to see her, but the woman replies that she does not wish to see anyone. Paresa asks the lady to meet her, because this is the lady she mentioned a couple of days ago. At this time, the girl with green hair is sitting in the living room, and Her Majesty comes in there, and also apologizes for making her wait. People with green hair are embarrassed by this. And the Empress asks if she is the same student of Viscountess Venus, to which you answer that yes, and her name is Nora. The girl claims that it is a great honor for her to meet Her Majesty. The lady with pink hair claims that she has been in a bad mood lately, and understands that the dress was not ruined by the will of the Viscountess, but many of her plans were ruined. Nora claims that she is truly sorry, and the woman sighs and claims that it doesn't make any sense anymore. She also says that Parisa Whitney just invited the girl there, after which she asks what she has there. Venus's student claims that she is confident that she can handle it, so she asks to rely on her. A little while later, the girl claims that if you sew the fabric torn from the dress in this way, it will turn out to be a popular design today, after which she will be interested in Her Majesty, what she thinks. The woman replies that the girl is a genius, and she has no words, because it is immediately obvious that she is the Viscountess's best student. She would never have thought that it is possible to create a new dress from scraps of an old one. And it is possible to borrow not only fabric, after which she suggests taking pearls as well. The main character stands to the side and realizes that she can't even make out half of it, but she is glad that the Empress has become better, after which the woman turns to Parisa and also tells her to provide Nora with a guest room and to go quickly to prepare everything necessary. The student then thanks Her Majesty and claims that she will try very hard. The main character walking down the corridor understands that everything should be fine for some time, and she too will be safe as long as she is in the Empress's palace. But then the main character sees another maid, and she wonders if the lady has returned so soon. The main character wonders what brought Anna there, and from there you can't get to the maid's dormitory. The girl replies that yes, and that's it. But she was asked to give this to Parisa. The main character asks if this is really a gift box, after which she wonders who asked her to give it. The maid replies that it is His Highness the Crown Prince. That same evening, when the main character opens the box, she sees a dress inside. She also wonders why he suddenly decided to give her a dress, after which everyone sees the letter. She opens it and then reads how the prince wrote that perhaps the letter was stupid on his part, and that's all. That he could call her to his office at any time. Of course, he would always do just that from now on. But today he was a little busy, and it was nice to receive letters sometimes. This dress is his gift, because soon there will be a ball where a bride will be selected, especially for him. The main character wonders if they will really give a ball at which the prince is going to find himself a chosen one. And does he really want her to come to him in a dress that was given to her? At the same moment, he throws a letter to the main character, and she screams, "What does this mean? And also, why does she need to go there? Because this balt is looking for a bride." Well, then she also notices that there is a second page, and then picks it up. The prince wrote there that he decided to supplement the letter because he assumed that she might misunderstand it, and if his mother was also present at the ball, then she would definitely have to come too. The main character then thinks that's it, and the prince also writes that he is looking forward to this day. A little while later, someone asks if a letter has arrived from the Lanas Empire. The man replies that yes, and it is addressed to his daughter personally, and replies that this is quite unexpected since she is not even the heir to the throne. The news about the opening of the ball to choose a bride for the crown prince of the Lanas Empire also reached the representatives of neighboring states. One of them tore up the letter, after which the maid turned to Her Highness, and she claimed that it was impossible to tear up an official letter so carelessly, but the girl claims that she read it, and this is complete absurdity, so she simply has no words. Their women have no need to look for a man outside the borders of the kingdom, and even if there was, there is no way in the world she would send the unfortunate women to this shameful end. Each reacted differently. The princess of the Oligot kingdom asked if the handsome Prince Karen was finally organizing a ball, and her father claims that this is very opportune, because he and Emperor Lantias have a planned conversation about establishing trade, and he suggests leaving together the girl, then tells her father to rely on her. This news shook the feelings of ladies all along the coast of the countries of the Sea of Aegis. This ball is a harbinger of the coming unrest. A week later, the prince said that he wants to see Parasochka. Well, the knight claims that it won't work because he still has a lot of work, after which the prince claims that he hasn't seen her for a whole week. The knight then tells the prince to be calm, to believe that no news is already good news, and after all, she is now also busy preparing for the ball. The prince claims that he heard that the best student of Viscountess Venus came, and the knight replies that yes, she is as capable as her teacher, which is what attracted Her Majesty. The guy then asks if anything else happened, to which the knight replies that as far as he knows, nothing special. And the vengeance of the Duchess of Eris, that broke out immediately after the Empress's ball. It seems that everything has calmed down in connection with the beginning of preparations for the next imperial ball. The prince then says that something tells him that the girl will not obediently follow the plan. He also wonders what the sent man says, and the knight replies that the Duchess invited not only the heir to the throne, but all the princesses of the kingdoms in which trade is conducted will be present. The guy then says that this is how it is, and this is an exceptional opportunity to establish diplomatic relations. It is quite expected that the aunt will organize this ball in order to tie his hands and feet. The knight then claims that he cannot know what their relationship was like when he remained neutral, but all of this is clearly due to the fact that he sided with the Empress. The guy replies that this is true, and she must think that she has the perfect opportunity, and he is the crown prince. Therefore, it is unacceptable for him to cause unnecessary trouble, and yet even in the worst-case scenario, their powerful state will not suffer losses. The knight at this time asks if His Highness has a plan of response, and the man answers that he is even interested in how all this will turn out, and he is worried about something completely different, no matter how senseless his worries are. The knight wonders if the gentleman is really going to do something reckless, and let him dedicate this matter to him as well, and also give him at least a chance to prepare himself mentally. The man replies that he won't do anything because he doesn't want to put pressure on her. And besides, he can't reveal Paris to the public, because if they get involved in a conflict at the state level and her safety is at stake, then he believes that this is what his aunt wants. Then, the knight says that as a warning to the Duchess about the action, he should choose a woman who in the future will not be involved in various kinds of gossip. If he still intends to create problems for himself, let him look at it from the outside. Is Parisa uncomfortable, or is she simply indifferent, and His Highness must be having an unbearable time of it? The prince then claims that the mere thought of it makes him angry, so he suggests ending it there. A little while later, the main character goes with the lamp and realizes that she is certainly glad that Her Majesty is having fun. Well, lately she feels like a mannequin because everyone is constantly dressing her up. The girl also understands that she already wants to rest and wonders where Her Majesty went, after which she sees a light on in one of the rooms and goes there and says that this is where Her Majesty is. At this time, the woman and her student are putting on a dress, and the Empress asks if the girl has left yet. She also tells the girl to wait. Vitya, she is very convenient, so let him come and take a look. Parisa agrees and approaches, and the Empress asks if the girl likes this dress, after which she asks if this is really the dress she tried on during the day. The lady with pink hair answers that it is true, and although she does not want to go to this ball, she still cannot refuse, so she also needs a dress, and it seems that her financial situation is not the best, so she prepared this dress for her. All the fuss has died down, so let her just put on this dress and come to the ball looking beautiful. The student at this time claims that when she saw this dress during the day, she was amazed because this is it. And the Empress claims that tomorrow she will need to pick out an outfit and work on it. The girl then remembers the prince's letter in which he instructed her to definitely wear this dress. And now the girl understands that she has problems because the Empress says that she prepared this dress especially for her. At this time, two people are sitting in a snack bar near the port. One of them tells his colleague to look, because there is a merchant from Dunamis there. Another then says that the sea is surging so terribly that they came at such a time, but he is also interested in what kind of wonders they brought to them this time. The other man then tells him to look not at the trinkets, but at the fools who are loading the boxes. The guy then asks if he is talking about those dandies, because aren't they knights, and what brought them to Lantias? Another man tells his colleague to think that he is chatting, because judging by their clothes, they are not simple guys, and these dandies are definitely from Dunamis. Well, when they see that one of the knights is heading towards them, the man says that it seems that they were heard, after which this knight comes up to them, and the man says, "Look, this knight has excellent hearing, and what business does he have with poor drinking workers?" The guy claims that they have already guessed that he is not the most ordinary knight, and that is probably why they are careful with their words, so he will not prevaricate. And he asks if they need money for a drink, because he can generously reward them for the information, after which the guy puts a bag of money on the table, and one of the men claims that he apparently isn't wasting his time, after which he asks what exactly interests him. The knight replies that he needs to know something about the fallen aristocratic families of Lantias. So let them tell him everything they know about the Menzel family. At this time, a ball is being held in the palace, and someone approaches the Duchess of Eris. The woman then says, "What kind of meeting is this?" And one of the girls thanks the lady for the invitation, and also claims that it was a great honor for her to receive a letter from the Duchess. The woman then greets the princesses and claims that she dares to notice the rumors shamelessly beg their dignity because they are both just incredible beauties. One of the girls then says that it is not worth it because the Duchess from his day also looks great. However, as always, Aries then says that she hopes they will have a good time because today they are her special guests. The girls then bow, after which she steps away, and one of them claims that she felt that the main characters of this luxurious ball are undoubtedly them. It's a pity for these poor things, because it's so stupid of them to entertain empty hopes, that in any case, it's clear to everyone that one of them will become the prince's bride. The princess of the Oligot kingdom is thinking at this time how impudent they are, and she is sick of them. A little while later, someone reports that His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived, after which the guy comes out to the lady, and they are all embarrassed. She of the girls understands that as before, only his dazzling face remains unshakable. At this time, two princesses approach His Highness and say that they are glad to meet him. One of the girls claims that this is their first meeting, and they are representatives of the royal family of Jess. One of the aristocrats then whispers who they are, and the other replies that this is the princess of the Western Kingdom, if she heard correctly. Well then, another aristocrat says how impudent it is on their part to take away from other ladies the opportunity to talk with the prince, and yet despite the favor of the Duchess, this is already too much. While the prince is talking to these ladies, he decides to look at the place where Parisa should be standing. But when he looks there, He realizes that only his mother is there, but he wonders where Paresa went. The main character is at this time behind a chair, and the Empress asks what she is doing, after which the girl answers that nothing. The Duchess at this time says that the couple, and since the hero of the occasion has arrived, it is time to begin. The Duchess also asks the prince if he has already chosen a partner for his first dance, because if he doesn't have anyone in mind, then she will allow herself to suggest a candidate, but the guy replies that he already has one. The Duchess is then surprised and asks if this is really so. Hey, the guy claims that he wants to ask Princess Joanna Oligot to dance. He also approaches this girl and asks if she would do him the honor. The princess is surprised by this and wonders if the prince is really inviting her to dance. The guy replies, well, to be honest, he is a little nervous, and he has been dirty since his youth about establishing, and with them, intercultural, mutually beneficial color. So he wonders if his offer will burden her. The girl then thinks what to answer, and one of the two princesses asks her sister what is going on. And weren't they supposed to become the crown prince's partners? But the other tells her to be quiet because there must be some kind of mistake there. Princess Oligot understands that she didn't like these girls right away, and it's good that everything turned out this way, after which she extends her hand to the prince and says that not at all. The Empress at this time says that it is possible to go crazy after all the guy invited the lady from Oligot to dance for the first time, since when is it that the prince is not alien to reasonable thoughts? The main character is interested in what this means. And the Empress answers that Oligot, Lantius, and Dunamis, these are three states that have shared the blessing of the sea god and have been forming an alliance for a long time. Frankly speaking, they have nothing to catch in other countries, because extra connections are sometimes burdensome, and a princess from the Union State is the most rational choice. And it seems that Nishiana has dragged princesses from other countries into this story, so it's a pity that the Quran prince simply ignored them. The main character then says that this is what it is, after which she watches the prince dance with this girl. She also thinks that in the end, she serves Her Majesty the Empress and not the Quran prince. In this place, she is not at all suitable. And besides, it would be strange if among other ladies, the most ordinary servant and operationalism stood out. The girl also remembers how the last time she danced with the prince, he claimed that she had promised to trample his feet. But if she was so careful, it wouldn't work, even if she really wanted to. Parisa replied that she was doing it so as not to hurt him, after which the guy told her to take his hand like this, and also asked how long she planned to dance looking at the floor. The prince also asked if she wanted to say that she was not satisfied with her partner. The young lady understood that she had not looked at him intentionally, but now she needed to look after, which she looked at the handsome face of the prince, and he said that it was much better this way, and also wondered if she could lean on him. After all, if she suddenly makes a mistake or stumbles, then let her trust him, because he will be able to hold her. At this time, the lollipops whose prince is dancing suddenly stumbles. The prince then grabs her and says that the princess seems to like spectacular endings. The girl replies that it is better to attract attention than to be caught off guard. And the Empress says how well everything is working out, but the main character turns to Her Majesty and asks if she can step away for a while. The woman replies that of course. And the prince at this time turns his attention to Parisa, and he sees her leaving. The girl at this time is thinking what is wrong with her, because she feels unwell. Her face is burning, and she feels very sick because it is somehow stuffy there. After which the lady once again thinks what is wrong with her. A little while later, she already goes out onto the balcony. Paresa understands that it is better this way, and she should just go out. After which she also thinks how nice it is in the fresh air. And even outside, they placed magic lights. Karen Prince is the main character of this evening, and prepared perfectly, so she will not say anything. The girl also thinks that it is very beautiful there, and she can stay there for a short time, because it is unlikely that Her Majesty will stay there. And besides, Nishiana is apparently too carried away by the ball to build any more intrigues, and she thinks that everything will be fine. But at that very moment, someone turns to the girl, and she wonders if it is the prince, after which he claims that he has searched for her. The main character tells His Highness that the ladies have been waiting for him for so long. Well, he replies that it is not scary because he is sure that they are able to wait a little longer. The girl then says that the hero of the occasion, should not leave his place because it is disrespectful to the guests. But the guy replies that even though it is a bride fair, this does not mean that the ball is organized exclusively for him. His absence is not a problem because there are many other aristocrats there, and in the end, he can leave under the pretext of going to the toilet. The main character wonders if he is serious, and does the prince not care about his reputation? And at this time, he approaches the young lady and claims that he actually came to steal her first dance, after which he extends his hand and also asks her not to refuse, because it seemed to him that he had already proven himself to be a worthy partner. The main character then agrees and extends her hand, and the guy kisses it and claims that this is an honor for him. At this time, Parisa realizes that she has gone crazy, and she hasn't drunk a drop of alcohol. But her thoughts are confused in her head, as if she were drunk, after which the two begin to dance on the balcony. And the girl understands that she, being a knight of Bologna, dares to rely on another person, and she can't even look him in the face. And by the way, if you think about it, he must be upset because she didn't make the dress he gave her. The prince at this time turns to the young lady and asks if she is really going to look only at the floor today, and here she offends him again, because he knew that she was not satisfied with her modest dance partner. The girl then screams that this is not so, after which the guy claims that then isn't it bad form to avoid eye contact with your companion? The main character is only embarrassed by this, after which the prince comes closer to her and says that then Parisa did not say his name, and maybe she will do it right now. At this time, one of the princesses passes by and is shocked when she sees these two. The girl understands that the prince, of course, gives in because the passions there are not funny, and these fools are behaving so carelessly. Therefore, it seems that she has just witnessed something incredible, and the girl now understands why the prince seemed so indifferent to her, because he already has a lover. Well then, the girl thinks that he did dance the first dance with her, but it was because of the union of their countries. But the girl thinks why then was it necessary to organize this ball, after which she completely understands that they have a secret relationship, and His Highness turns out to be a daredevil. But at that very moment, someone from behind asks where this prince went, because he disappeared right after the first dance. The other princess then asks if they were not given guarantees, and if the Duchess of Arras had deceived them. The other girl claims that this cannot be, since they only came all this way because the crown prince was going to get engaged. And could such a person as the Duchess lie about something like that? One of the princesses, at this time, thinks that this is a problem, because at this rate the prince and his beloved will be caught, after which she thinks about something. Well, he still understands that, to hell with him, and let the crown prince mean that the veil of life will be obliged to her. At that moment, she uses her power, and one of the ladies screams, "Where did the bird come from?" The main character, hearing this, screams that there are people there, and pushes the prince away, after which she claims that it is time for them to return, because if they return together, people may misunderstand. The guy then says that yes, and of course he will go first, after which the guy turns to the lady again, and he says that he will definitely contact her again, after which he leaves, and the main character falls to the floor, and also thinks what is happening to her. A little while later, the girl returns to the hall to Her Majesty. The lady with pink hair then wonders if the girl has finally returned, after which she tells her to go there quickly, because she hasn't returned, she already wanted to leave alone. Parisa apologizes, and the woman says that if she suddenly lays eyes on some aristocrat, then let him just say it once, and she can pretend to be a stump. But the main character says that Her Majesty should not make things up, after which the girl also looks at the prince and is a little embarrassed. At this time, Princess Olagot sighs and also understands that she has spent all her strength on this circus, after which she also sees someone heading along the second floor and wonders if it is Her Majesty. But they didn't even have time to greet each other, and she was already leaving. After which the girl also sees someone else near Her Majesty and understands that it is Parisa. 3 days later, the main character puts the papers on the table and claims that she has finished, and the Empress asks if she has already finished, to which the girl replies that she has. And as the lady asked, she sorts into stacks the financial reports about the prince's sick evening and the celebration of the emperor's birthday. She made a preliminary plan of upcoming expenses for her personal tea party and checked the estimates against the general expenses journal, and also made changes and wrote out unapproved expenses since they all fit on one page. After which the girl asks if she can be free, and the Empress replies that she can go. And the young lady immediately cries out to the Empress that then they will see each other tomorrow. The woman says that it is strange because she is somehow too excited. Marie is silent after this, and a little while later, she cries out to Anna that she has arrived. After which the maid tells Parisa to come quickly because she has been waiting for her too. Then the maid helps the young lady to put on a dress and says, "What a beauty she is." Parisa understands that this speed is simply amazing. What could one expect from a professional? Anna at this time says that she especially wants to note Parisa's wonderful dress, and she wonders who gave it to her. The main character then only laughs nervously and also asks if it would be better to tie up her hair because she feels uncomfortable when it is loose like this. And this hairstyle is very different from those she is used to, but the maid replies that no matter what she says, she likes it this way much more, and her hair looks great with her hair down. The girl also says that Parisa always braided it before, and you wouldn't recognize her with this hairstyle. It seems to her that she is especially worried about this, because it was the same at the ball, after which the main character says that Anna is very observant, and this is amazing. And the maid replies that yes, and this can be said to be her secret weapon. There in the palace, many even the most ordinary maids come from aristocratic families, so she, a commoner, has to put in much more effort than the others. And for this, she simply needs to be better than others in at least something. A place under the wing of the highest nobility or the royal family is a tasty morsel, and it is not at all surprising that among the common people there are daredevils who hire themselves there in the hope of patronage and rarity, of course. But there were cases when it was necessary to please even the arrogant maids. Well, then the girl says that she has been chatting too much and apologizes to Parisa. The main character replies that it is nothing to worry about, after which she apologizes to Anna. Well, she claims that she cannot help but ask. After all, in the current situation, wouldn't it have been wiser for her to follow the Duchess rather than the Empress? Anna then says that she has no power there, and on the contrary, she has always had the opportunity to observe the situation from afar, and so she could act as her heart tells her. After which she also throws a cape on the main character and also suggests that she go, because at this rate she will be late, and her meeting is now much more important than this conversation. After which the main character says that exactly, and also thanks Anna and claims that she will definitely return the favor. Anna then smiles and asks if the lady is talking about the favor, but she does not look like an aristocrat at all. Well, then someone else turns to Anna and says that she has something to talk about, and it won't take long. It turns out to be Marie. The main character at this time knocks on the carriage and claims that she has arrived, after which His Highness opens the door and helps the girl into their carriage. He also notices that she is wearing this dress, and he claims that he is happy because it suits her incredibly well. The girl then asks if the prince knows that she was still very surprised when she received his invitation. The guy claims that he thought he warned her that time, but the girl claims that she did not think that he would actually do that. She also asks if he really has nothing to do, after which the guy says that she is so naive, and he also claims that it is possible to say so, after which he says that there is one place where he wants to take her. A little while later, they are already getting out of the carriage, and the guy asks if the lady is having a hard time since they have been climbing for a long time, and let her definitely say if it becomes hard for her, because he will help her. But the girl answers that no, and everything is fine because such worries regarding the night of Belena are unfounded. The only thing is, if she knew that they would go to such a place, she would have put on something more comfortable, after which they go outside, and the guys claim that they are there. After all, there is an incredible view from there, and when they go up one of the towers, the guy claims that this is his favorite place. He also asks how Paris is and whether this place is amazing. The girl replies that it is not the right word, because it takes your breath away, after which the prince claims that he often goes there, and one can say since childhood. And it's also amazing that if you look down from there at the city for a long, long time, your consciousness magically clears up, and sometimes you even come there just to think about everything.